Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome along. Um, well, first off, yeah, welcome along. This is a slight change of tack here for me because I've been playing games for the last while. But oh, hello, Grey Amiga, hello, Friar85. Welcome along. But yeah, well, first thing to ask is, I'm playing mods in the background. Is that too loud? Too quiet? Are they okay? Or can you hear them at all? Am I the only one who can hear them? Can't hear them? Okay. Let's up this a bit. How's that? Cool. Okay, you can hear me anyway. That's the important bit. But I just thought because... Yeah, there we go. Because it's... normally, you'd have the game music or whatever going on. This is probably a little drier than that without a... So you need something to tick along in the background. Oh, I just realised my window is wide open as well. It's probably not great. Oh, sorry, less than flattering view there, but sure, it's all good. Anyways, right. So this may be very, very simple stuff, but I'm going to start kicking off with simple stuff. Now, I am hearing this basically very, very loud in my headphones. So bear with me a second. Where's my volume control for this? No, not that one. Let me see. Where's Chrome? Yeah, there we go. See, of course, this will probably make it quieter for you guys. Yeah, cool. Is that better? Or has that made a difference to you? Perfect. Cool. Yeah. Because this is normally most of the time I would actually stream using real hardware and in through the capture card and have a little bit more control over that. But when I'm kind of like routing everything through the one thing, it doesn't really work all that well. But okay, let's see. Right. So I have dropped the resolution. I would normally have the resolution up very high. Because I like more pixels for more text, more more visibility and stuff. But can everyone see this text here? Can you read it okay? Does it look okay? Or does it look a bit squishy or whatever? Because to me it looks it looks like the resolution is a bit crunchy, but that could just be me. See, this is going to hurt it now by doing that. Does that make it any better? Yeah, okay. Anyway, sure, we won't touch it too much because it's a fragile setup I have here. But okay. So I'm going to be going through things, but like, ask any questions. Yeah, that's it. It's kind of what I have here. Unfortunately, it's sort of a mixture of scaling. So I'm trying to figure out whether it's my monitor or WinUAE that's causing it to be a little bit crunchy. But okay, but yeah, stop me when you have any questions, or if you have any questions, or just feel free to fire them in the chat there. But I'm kind of doing this basically because of this Blitz Basic game jam that's coming up. I said there's a couple of people have been asking on the Discord about it. There's a game jam Discord, and people have been asking about it, saying kind of not really sure where to start or how to do basically anything. So what I'm going to do, I'll run through some stuff here. Now, this is Ami Blitz 3. It's been a bit like that in the last while, but I'm going to try this out because I haven't done this. Exclamation mark Discord. Oh, it works. There you go. So you can join the Discord there. There's your little invitation there. This is the Discord. This isn't my Discord. This is Discord for the Blitz Basic Game Jam. Yeah. So that's it there. You can also do wrong button there. Getting fancy here. And that's the link for the actual game jam itself. But yeah, there's a Discord set up for the game jam that is up and running. There's a nice help section there for anyone to ask questions about their Blitz Basic coding. And yeah, generally already, even though there's like what, three weeks ago before it launches, there's already kind of quite a busy channel. But yeah, so there you go. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can get a couple more people using Blitz Basic, and you know, in a sort of a fit state to get cracking on the jam. So some bits of it you might be you might kind of expect or be expected to know a little bit about programming in general, and you know, but yeah, stop me at any point if things get out of hand. So I'm starting off with AmiBlitz 3, right? This is the open source, kind of the latest iteration of Blitz Basic, if you like, but it is far and away, of all the Blitz editors that there are on like native on the Amiga, it's far and away the best one. I do also have excuse the horrible backdrop and stuff like that. This is, I normally run it on a graphics card screen, but I've scaled it down for the stream. Now, Blitz Basic 2, kind of the latest version of Blitz Basic 2 you can get is like basically it's the full Blitz Basic Plus CD, and that looks something like this. So it's a little bit more plain, but you know, it basically works in a similar way. Or you can see the last thing I did in here was Dodgy Rocks. Let me see. So oh no, what do I want to do here? Where is it? Articles and tutorials, listings. So this is the same listing as I had in the other thing there. Okay, so hello world. So that's the same text that I have in AmiBlitz 3. So you can see, like, straight away there's a bit of a difference here. That AmiBlitz 3 has sort of a syntax highlighting, so it'll highlight the keywords like endprint here. It'll highlight the edit string, and it should highlight end, but sometimes it doesn't pick that up. So there you go. But yeah, so this will highlight the keywords, but things like comments and stuff like that won't get highlighted. So it only has basically the two colors. It has like keyword and not keyword, whereas AmiBlitz 3, you'll see that this is actually in gray here, you know, the bit between the quotes. If you do a keyword that bangs the chipset like Blit, it'll highlight that in a different color to tell you that you're going to have to, you know, have the hardware present for that as well. A few other things like that, but and the comments are on a sort of green background there to make them quite obvious. Now, I have to tone down this music a bit more, because yeah. Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna turn that down. That's better. Okay, so AmiBlitz 3 is available to download from. I think there's a link on the Discord server, but I don't have a link there ready. Let me see. AmiBlitz 3 can be downloaded here, and the current version is 3.9.1. So, oh yeah, or sorry, 3.9.2 has just been released 12 days ago. There you go. Very, very fresh. Okay, there's the link in the chat there. So you can download that, unpack it, and it pretty much should be ready to go. But if you have an earlier version like 3.7, don't just install this over it, because it's not really going to work. You need to sort of, you can install it basically as a sort of a fresh install. I think when you install it, it does complain about libraries, or it might complain about libraries. I think wizard.library, it's just a case of copying that over to your syslibs directory, and that's basically it. There's not a huge amount to it. If you are stuck, give a shout in the Discord or in the Blitz Basic group on Facebook or on EAB, and someone will help you out. But yeah, Snoop DOS is your friend here as well, because sometimes, you know, the library missing or not in the right place, Snoop DOS is a very quick way of finding that out. And when you so you run Snoop DOS and then you run AmiBlitz, and it will tell you what libraries are missing, and all the libraries you need are in the Blitz archive. Sometimes they're used from there, just sometimes you have to copy them over. I think it depends on your particular setup. Welcome along, Nivrig. Yeah. Thanks. Actually, you're just after popping in. I was just showing the difference between Blitz Basic and Ami Blitz. Look what's in my recent files. So this is Nivrig's game, Dodgy Rocks, that I ported to the Amiga, and so it'll bring back memories there. But yeah, that's the last thing I did using Blitz Basic 2. So, but yeah, so I tend to use Amiga Blitz 3 almost exclusively because it's a much nicer editor. But you know, Blitz Basic 2 makes a bit of sense if you're on a sort of if you're programming on real hardware and you're quite limited resources wise. And yeah, so I think this is like the best editor you can get for Blitz Basic 2.1. If you hey hey Amiga Gamer, hey group of Italians. This is one of my work colleagues who has absolutely no intention or notion of joining in the programming, but it's great to have you along anyway. Oh yeah, no, well, okay, sorry, Nivrig missed that then. But basically, all my recent files are all the various includes belong to Dodgy Rocks, so that's all they are. That's all I was pointing out there. But yeah, so that was the last thing I did. But yeah, so the editor will look like this. You've got your code there. It looks quite dull, but it yeah. But you know, hey, there you go. So what I will be doing is I'll mostly be sticking to Amiga Blitz 3, which is definitely a nicer looking setup and a lot easier to use. It has a lot of sort of what you might think of as more modern features, but you do need a more powerful Amiga to run it, or emulation like I'm doing. So yeah, that's it. Anyways, this is my Hello World example. Straight away we've got 3 keywords here, and the keywords. So well, first off we got the comments. They're highlighted in green there. A semicolon at the start of a line or at any point in a line means the rest of the line is a comment. You can put whatever text you want in there. It's an easy way to kind of remind future you what you did, because yeah, fine, for something like this you don't really need it, but very quickly when you start getting into something a bit more deep, you reach a point where you have to go back a week and try to figure out why you did something, and like, yeah, can't remember. Not sure why that works, not sure how it works. If I'd put a comment there, it would have made the world a difference here. So put comments where don't comment everything if you don't need to, but you know, they're good to have if there's something that genuinely took you a while to work out, you know, and you think, you know, that was a bit tricky to work out, I might not be able to work it out again. So you know, comments are good in that way. But you'll find that this Blitz Basic on the whole, if you're coming from an 8-bit environment, and I know actually there are a few people in the jam who are talking about that, like C64 or Amiga Gamer, like they're like with the Sinclair Basic. Yeah, it kind of is. There are a lot of different basics on the Amiga, but coming from the 8-bit basics, this is kind of like a second generation basic. You know, there'll be some significant differences in how it actually works. Like well, for example, it's not interpreted, so it's all, you have to compile it to make it work. Now I'll go through that in a minute, but no line numbers. You've got things like procedures and structures and things like that that are definitely from a newer, that will feel a lot more modern and from much newer languages. So so we're going to see a bit of that now later on. Yeah, so basically what we have here is we've got our comments that just tell you what to do. They're optional, of course, but probably a good idea. Now, keywords get highlighted. They get highlighted in blue here, and yeah, absolutely, future you will love it. Present you is not interested whatsoever, and you kind of think, especially if you're on a roll, you're kind of like, oh, I got to get this. I've got an idea here, and all of a sudden you've written 50 lines of code. Even a week later, whatever, about 6 months later, a week later, you'll forget that thought process, and kind of like, oh, you might as well be looking into the back of a bus. So yeah, comments are good, and they really, it's really hard to get into the habit of it. And I like, yeah, I might show you some code of mine from a couple of years ago now, and it's brutal. But anyways, yeah, you know what? Let's just do that for the laugh. Open new. Let's see. What have I got in? Blitz 2. No, parent. Blitz 2 files. Let's look at some of my code from the 90s. Oh, I don't have much of that. Okay, yeah. No, that does not look like my code from long ago. Oh yeah, there we go. Now this is getting into, yeah. These coordinates here, there's a bit of backtracking to be done here. You've got some magic numbers and you've got some coordinates there and some calculations here. It's laying out tiles, but yeah, that could do with some comments. Although this is newer than I think I went through a second bit of I think I gave this an overhaul not so long ago. Let's see if I can find any older stuff. I show you some proper awfulness. Let's see, Blitz 2. Where? Blitz 2 original. Blitz 2 files. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Let's see, bouncy ball. What's that? 1999. Let's have a look. That's still not too bad. Open. Let me see. Some very old stuff. Let's not look in the viruses one. Yes, and there's a good reason for that. There's a good reason that you got points for commenting code then, because yeah, let's see what's in MISC. Some of this is a bit shit, actually. Oh no. Open. Let's see, that old tic-tac-toe game. That was pretty brutal, if I remember right. Look at that. Barely an indent to be seen. Not all these variables have rubbishy 8-bit names. Back when you hey, hello George, welcome along. This is code from back when, you know, I was just coming from 8-bit computers and variables couldn't have more than 1 or 2 letters. It was, you know, I came from the Atari actually, and you could have as many letters as you wanted, but more letters meant you use more memory. so you know, you wouldn't use a word for a variable name because, you know, those extra 5 bytes might come in useful somewhere else. So yeah, so this is not there you go, bunches and bunches and bunches and bunches and bunches of horrible code, and I don't know what any of it is actually doing. You could spend an hour trying to figure that out then, and that's an hour that you an hour that, you know, you're never going to get back, and you don't need to spend. But yeah, that's a red card offense, really doing that kind of stuff in a mission critical setting. Nasty stuff. Look at that, pages and pages of that. And I know that is basically checking if you've won or lost the game, but look at that. It's like, yeah, fuck that. Anyways, so comment your code, folks. Comment your code. See, oh, you're tuning in from Greece. Good to have you along. Yeah. Oh yeah, I is index. Now, to be fair, I still do that for loops, but everything else is A, B, C, D, E, and then A, B, A, C. It's terrible stuff. Yeah. Anyways, right. So here's what how we're going to start you on a slightly neater course, but you won't need comments just yet for this stuff. But what we have here are 3 lines. Each one has a keyword. Keyword is your verb, effectively. Or sometimes it's not, but we'll deal with that later. But basically, your keyword is telling the computer to do something. So in the first line, we've got endprint, and in quotes, we've got a little message here. So in quotes, we've got a string. Yes. Yeah, it is a bad habit of mine to still use I, J, K, L in nested loops. But yeah, I'm refusing to give that one up. That's my I'm holding onto that for dear life. My link to the 8-bit world. But okay, so endprint prints a message to the console. Now the console is your shell window, is your output of your program on the Amiga. It's very similar to the print in other basics, and indeed you can do print as well. That's also a keyword. And Blitz will tell you if you've misspelt it because it won't highlight it in blue. So it's a nice, easy way of getting feedback. It's a nice way of getting feedback in the blue loops, or in the. You're confusing me now. in the editor. So before you even run the program, you know that something's not right there because your keyword isn't spelled right. But the difference between print and end print is n adds a new line onto the end. So in older BASIC, that would be the same as putting a semicolon on the end of it. But we saw here that a semicolon actually means a comment, so you can't do that to mark to cancel out the new line. So yeah, so print and end print are the two options. So normally you go with end print unless you've got a reason to nail things together on the same line. But I'll show you what that does now. Now, basically, that's all you need to make your program. It's just that single line. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick an end here. And so we can ignore this stuff. Don't worry about that stuff here for now. So this is our program. End print hello world and end. And what end does is that quits out of your program and gives control back to the Amiga. Frees up your resources. That's it. You should really have that there. Like, it's not strictly required. Yes. Arabundi, welcome along. Yeah, that's basically it. It's you don't have an n a slash n. Well, okay, right. Well, look, in Ami Blitz you do. In Blitz Basic you don't. So in Ami Blitz you can also do that. But yes, new line print. Yeah, let's go with that. So yeah, I'm gonna stick to kind of stuff that works in both Blitz Basic and Ami Blitz for this. So yeah, but it's one of those things that's kind of one of the improvements for going for Ami Blitz. But yeah, we'll leave it there for now. So end print and then end just quits your program. So how we compile that? We have to compile it, and compiling it converts this text into machine code for the machine to run it, and lets it go. So in our menus up here, we've got compile and run, and that's it. We can see at the top here, hello world, and it worked. So now, Ami Blitz gives you this nice program terminate, press enter to return to Ami Blitz 3. If we do the same thing in Blitz 2, it won't give you that little prompt. And I'll show you what happens if we do that here. Oh, yeah. And that is basically the same thing, compile and run. And see, it quits back straight away because it, oh yeah, we're going to quit that. Oh, excellent, yeah. This is an issue I'm going to have to deal with. Oh, don't tell me you've crashed the thing already. Love of Jesus. Yes, you have. Okay, yes. Hello world, hi program. Now, so you can see there that Ami Blitz gives you a little prompt, but basically, end is the end of your program, frees your resources, and gives you back your machine, basically. Yeah. Carriage return line feed. If you're into that sort of thing and into teletype printers and all that kind of stuff, well, fair play to you. You know, I think that belongs in the 70s. But anyways, the interesting thing is on the Amiga, often you can use both, and the editors tend to deal with it, depending on what you're doing, of course. But I think Ami Blitz at least will deal with PC or Amiga line ends, which is nice. Now, what's happened here is, because I'm running two different versions of Blitz, when I run the debugger, it kind of crashes out of things. And now look, this menu has decided to disappear on me. So I think my machine's going to be close to dying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reboot that. One of the joys of emulation is it is very quick to start up. Very quick. And so we're back here again. And yeah. So, no, that wasn't where I was. Where was I? Shared articles. Where is it? There. Ambitious tutorial 1 listings. Yeah. Oh yeah, infinite debuggerage. But yeah, so the Blitz Basic debugger and the Ami Blitz debugger don't play nicely together. So use one or the other. Don't do what I'm doing and use two at the same time, because it's only going to end up, yeah, exactly like that, falling apart. Okay, so, but I'll cover the debugger now in a little while as well, because it is actually quite a decent debugger on Blitz Basic and Ami Blitz. So yeah, so we saw what that does there. We can print our message. If we do So just for the sake of it, and we'll run that, compile it. Now, hello world, and then you see line 2 is on a second line there. If we change that to print, what'll happen is they just get stuck together. So one gets the second line runs straight into the first line, or straight after the first line. So that's the difference there. That's the difference between print and end print. Fine. Now, if we get rid of that end there, we put it back the way it was. Now I'm doing little shortcuts here, but right Amiga D is a nice shortcut for deleting the line. Let's use it the whole time. And okay, a lovely feature of AmiBlitz is you can delete the line, right Amiga D, and right Amiga U undeletes it, which is nice if you want to repeat the line. You see, and then if you're doing a load of the same things, you can just it's like copying and pasting a line. But it's a nice little feature. Okay, so we've restored our program to where it was, these 3 lines. Now, for the moment, I'll talk about variables now in a second, but basically edit string, it's called edit string, as edit $, and then in brackets number. That is for, what's it? S-E-U-C-K, isn't it? That's how you spell it? Yes. But yeah, so edit string here is basically takes an input from the keyboard. So it sits there and waits for you to type in something and press enter, and then that's it. So it waits for up to 10 characters. It doesn't have to be 10, but up to 10 characters, and then it'll store it in this dummy variable here. So it could be letters, numbers, symbols, whatever you want, up to 10, and the first 10 characters will go into this dummy string. And you say string because that is a variable that carries a string of letters or numbers or symbols. So what that does is, and that's useful for Blitz Basic too, because what'll happen there is it will wait for you to type in something before it gets to the end statement, which is, which quits the program. So it will type your line, and then it waits for you to press to type in something. It doesn't even have to be anything, but once you press enter, then your program ends. And that's a nice little line, anything like that, to basically stop the program from immediately going back to Blitz 2. Yeah, there you go. So basically what that'll do is that will store whatever is typed in there in dummy. Now it doesn't really matter, because all we're doing there is we're stopping the computer from dumping straight out of the end of the program and going back to the editor or whatever. So it's just a pause before the end. There are other ways of doing that, and one common one is, what we're going to do is we'll comment that out so it doesn't work anymore, is mouse wait. Character, and it's just mouse wait, and that is yes, and this is why I don't use that. I'll tell you now. But no, mouse wait is fine, but what it does is it busy loops, which means that it's basically a sort of a 20 go to 10 thing. It just runs really, really fast, and the entire 100% of your CPU time is taken up checking if the mouse button's been pressed, and if not, checking if the mouse button's been pressed, if not, checking that the mouse button's been pressed, and that's it, which is fine if you're using it without multitasking. But if you run that, and it's fine because I'm an emulation, so I've got CPU cycles to spare. But if you run that on another machine, like on an 020 or an 030 or something like that, and you go start switching screens, well, that's ended there anyway because it detected the mouse. But if you try to do anything, it will, or anything, if you've got like mods running in the background or anything, it will suddenly slow down. And so it's not. I prefer to use, if I'm doing system friendly stuff, I prefer to use this. If I've shut down the operating system and I'm using the chipset directly, I'll use mouse wait. And that's that. But basically, that's the difference. And so it's kind of a subtle thing. They both do a similar job, but one of them is kind of friendlier if you have a multitasking thing going on. Okay. I've unsaved changes. Thank you. So what was the next one? Yeah, text input. Or okay, no. I think variables is probably a better one, is it? Let's see. Oh yeah, let's do variables. Yep. Another one you can do if you're doing well. See, if you're not doing multitasking, it really doesn't matter because you're burning all your CPU cycles with a V weight or something anyway. That's fine. You know, you're not going to use those CPU cycles for anything else. So something like that, or a Joy-B 0. Yeah, there are a couple of ways of doing it, but yeah, mouse weight is what I use in Blitz mode as well. So this little program here is just to teach you about variables. Normally in computerage, you get a number stored in a variable. Everything the computer does is about numbers. So if you want to store a number, you basically give it a name, and provided the name isn't a reserved word like endprint or end or one of the other keywords that kind of suddenly gets highlighted when you type it like that, you can use it as a variable. So score is a number variable, and they're basically by default they're numbers. I'll go into the types of numbers later, but score, and then you do score equals 100. That stores the number 100 in the variable score. So you can also do, you know, calculations on it and use variables in your calculations. So you can say answer equals age plus 2. So if age is, like, let's say 3, answer will be equal to 5. Answer is equal to 5 plus 2. Kind of makes little sense when you see it like that, but when you're using variables like that, it works. You know, so what you have here is an expression, it's called, and basically whatever is on the right hand side of the equals, the computer will calculate. Doesn't matter what it is, if it's variables, if it's a literal values like that, constants, and it will put the answer in the variable, which here is called answer. Okay, so that's fine. That's how you store values to be used later and how you manipulate values. We touched on it there a little bit, but to store a string of characters is a little bit different, because in computer terms, this isn't this isn't a value, this is a string of values, hence the name string. So each one of these values is an ASCII code, and there's another one on the end which is 0, which is invisible. You don't need to worry about that now. But basically that's a string of characters. That will give you a can't convert types error, I believe, George. I don't think it's something I've actually tried, but let's try it. But basically this is just showing you how, yeah, so you store, so that's why you give a special variable type to store strings, and you put a $sign on the end to show them that to tell the compiler that that's what you're doing, to tell basic AmiBlitz or Blitz Basic, this isn't carrying a number, this is carrying several numbers in a row that we're going to treat as text or symbols, and that's a string. In AREX, I know you can do something like that, where you put a value in a string and quotes, and you can add it to a number, and AREX is a really nice language like that. Yes, thanks, Graham. Yes, Blitz has some extra ways of defining variables. I'm going to go into that in a little while, actually. Do you have to declare these number variables? Answer integer or real. Well, I will again go into that now in a little while. So, but yes and no. If you're thinking in 8-bit, this is kind of semi 8-bit terms, the way we're doing it here. And what Blitz does is it just defaults to a particular type of variable for numbers. There are lots of different types. Yeah, yeah, there are lots of different types, and there are lots of different types of variable you can use. Blitz, when it starts off like this and you just don't tell it, it's what's called a quick type. Now don't let the name fool you, it's a very slow type of variable, but it's kind of a general purpose. It can kind of do what an 8-bit variable would do if you're coming from an 8-bit basic. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. So what endprint here can do then is that can also do an expression, and if you give it an expression like that, it will output the results of that sum or that calculation. Now, if you all remember from school, it will, the order that you do things in, it will do 4 divided by 2 first, then it will add on the 4 to give you an answer of 6. If you want to change that, you can use brackets again like you do in actual maths that you did in school. So 4 plus 4 is 8 divided by 2, and that will give you 4 as the answer. And we can do that and just see that works, and 6 and 4 for our 2 answers. So To answer George's question, what happens if you mix a string and a number variable? So what we're going to try and do is that. So answer equals 5 plus 2. AREX is nice and clever, and so are some other languages that are loosely typed, but you cannot do that in BASIC. This will give you a compile time error, type mismatch. So possible run code begins here, and it will normally point you at where the problem is. And actually, let me see. It will actually jump you to the right line as well. So you see the cursor moves to the line where the error is. So when you do get an error during compile, it will show you exactly what the problem is, or it'll show you as close as it can figure where the problem is. In reality, you should be able to see from that thing of code what happens. Priorities are a key thing, and the computer will be absolutely ruthless when it comes to it. Strong, yes, strong typing is for weak minds. So and presumably the inverse is true then, because I do like AREX, I really do, and being able to add 4 to 4, and it is nice, and being able to add, like 5 to Rob, is also nice. But yeah, so that won't work in Blitz. It's a little bit more than that. It's a little bit lower level, and you have to convert a number to a string before you can use it as a string. So there are loads of ways of doing that. So anyways, if you have any questions on that stuff so far, let me know. Otherwise, let's go and look at text input example. Oh, excellent. This is great. This is going well. Now, who was recently saying that they're having instability problems with Amiga Blitz 3? Now, I have not had any problems using this on. I'm with you on the JavaScript. I'm not a fan of JavaScript at all. Some people have been saying that Amiga Blitz 3 has been unstable for them. I have not had any issues whatever until now. So I don't know if that's because I normally use Amiga Blitz in yeah, I probably should. Mass, okay, I get the connection. How are you? Yeah, nice to make that connection now. Yes, I don't have a death counter or a crash counter. I should have set that up beforehand. But yeah, I don't know what the story is. You see, I normally run it on a really big screen mode, and I don't know if I have chip RAM issues or if it's an issue with my because I never run this with in these kind of chip RAM modes. I always run them in nice high res, high spec everything modes. So I wonder if that's to do with it, and because I'd say that's probably the way most people run it actually. Anyways, we'll carry on and see what happens. At least rebooting is nice and quick. Okay, so in this little program, what we're doing here is we're actually using what we've put in a variable. So what we're doing is we're asking a question, and you'll see that we actually use print instead of end print here. And what that does is that keeps the cursor at the end here, so that when you type in, it's asking edits, to type in something. When you type it in, it will be added onto the end here, and it'll be typed after the what is your name thing. Now end print, pleased to meet you, and you can see here that we've put a comma and name string, and that's basically saying we've added a parameter here. Oh, you run it on the RTG and the editor crashes constantly. That's interesting. I've done a lot on this, and I've never, I haven't had any issues. But yeah, your mileage may vary, etc., etc. But anyways, if it keeps on doing funny things, I might switch to Blitz 2. But anyways, so what I'm doing here is endprint can take a variable number of parameters. So we saw here it takes a single parameter, which is that string there. You can add on as many different arguments as you want, and it will print them all one after another. And in most commands, a lot of commands have optional number of parameters, and you can add on extra parameters at the end. So what I've done here is I've added on this separated by a comma. So what that will do is it will print pleased to meet you, and then it will add on the contents of the name string variable. Hey, oh yes, the debugger. Okay, this isn't gonna like it. Yeah, no, dead. It's going swimmingly. Talk amongst yourselves. Right. Blitz 2. Shared articles. And text input example. Okay, so what we have, what's the question there? Was the 50? No, what the 50 is basically you have to. It sort of is declaring the string length. Strings don't have a limited length. Yeah, you don't declare the length of strings in Blitz. So there is an internal limit, but it's like 10,000 characters or something like that. It's about 10k is the string buffer. So what it is. Strings are kind of nice in Blitz. They're treated like a primitive, which is what a normal number variable is. So unlike C and some of the other languages, you don't have to declare a length. I think it's 10k, around about 10k. Yeah. Anyways, you're not practically going to run into that limit. What the 50 is a limit on how much of the string you type in is actually stored. So it's kind of how many characters will be taken. So you can type more than 50 characters, but only the first 50 characters will be put into your variable. So it's more of a kind of a it's more to sanity check your data rather than anything else, because if you want to type in 10,000 characters, you probably can get an overflow there. Yeah, basically it's to keep things neat and to put a sort of conscious limit on it. But if you don't, I don't think you can make it infinite, but you know, no matter what you're doing, you're going to have a kind of a 1,000 or something like that limit that you could effectively makes it infinite. But yeah, like I'm running 3.8 on emulation and on my my real Amiga, and yeah, I haven't had any issues. But anyways, yeah, that's it. And it'll be something silly like a particular library that's installed somewhere or something, you know. Yeah, something that should be inconsequential there. But yeah, so that's what the number does there. And then the same for this dummy one. It's just 10 characters. You just have to put a number there. It doesn't really matter what it is because you don't care about what you type in. But yeah, so that's what the number is there. Now, what? Yeah. So let's see what that does when I run it. Okay. Well. Okay. Compiler options. I'm going to go in here. Now you can see runtime error debugger is switched on there, and that has some other stuff in it. Yeah. So let's compile and run it with the debugger. Now takes up half the screen, but we'll move that out of the way. So hello world, what is your name? And you can see there that the cursor is waiting there because I used print instead of end print. So if I go Rob, and pleased to meet you, Rob, and it's just tacked onto the end there. And you press enter, it goes back to here. Now, what else can I deal with there? So I think my next tutorial, if I remember right, open new, yeah. So you just, this is a sort of a by the by on the editor, on the nice AmiBlitz editor as well as the Blitz 2 Super TED editor. You can open multiple files at the same time, and then on AmiBlitz 3 you've got tabs along the bottom. On this one you've got next file, previous file. So F9 and F10 go through your open files. But yeah, it's nice because sometimes you might want to have multiple files open. So let me see what's in tutorial 2. You know what? I want to do some more with variables for a start. So, so what we have is, yeah, so we've got some string variables here. Now, what I want to show you as well here is you can do the same as adding numbers together and stuff like that. You can do that with a string. So, endprint hello world plus So you can add strings together like as if they're numbers, which is a nice little trick. And you can see there, it all comes out as one on one line. So hello world test. So that's all, and we don't mind that. So it's basically treated that. What the compiler has done is it will write the code to add those two strings together and then treat it as a single string and then print out the answer to that. Now you can also put the comma in there to use two separate arguments. It doesn't really matter. It just matters in how it's processed. So for adding a number, this is how you'll add a string to a number. So if you want to add a number to a string, you need to use a special function to convert it. So, and that is string or whatever, and let's say 12, just at random. And so what this will do is this will get the results of converting the number to a string. So what it does, it takes the actual number 12 and converts it to the characters 1, 2, and then adds them onto the end of that string. And I meant to switch off the debugger because we don't need that every time. You see, hello world 12, and it shows up there. Going the opposite way, and I'm gonna. So we don't really need that there or that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to end 5 plus, and to go the opposite way to get the value of a string is val, and then we can put, oh, that's capital 5 plus, let's say we would do 2 there. Okay, so val is a function. What that does is that converts a string to a number, so it goes the opposite way. So what that should do is print 5 plus 2, which is 7. And what we're going to do is we're going to switch off the debugger just so it's not popping up all the time. Now, switching off the debugger is slightly risky, but yeah. So then there we go. We can see we got our 7 there, and we press enter. So you know, this is how you end up sort of, you know, putting out messages that are based on a variable and stuff like that. So and dealing with them, you know, like strings and numbers. It does crop up quite a bit actually in you know, once you start coding some stuff. How converting to strings and numbers and back again. What if basically this is down to sort of it makes a good guess at what the number should be. But what happens is if it's actually not a number, if it's like an actual string of letters, val will return 0. So this will give you 0. Well, plus 5, which is 5. Yeah, so basically it doesn't crash or anything like that if you do that, but yeah, because it's legitimate. It's sort of part of the function to actually return 0 if it doesn't have a valid value. Now, what I was going to say there a minute ago is turning off the debugger. Like, there is a really nice debugger in Blitz. It works quite well. It catches a lot of mistakes that show up that will otherwise crash your machine. And so it's quite a good thing to have it running when you're developing software. It makes the code run a lot slower, but it is good. It's very, very good. Hey, thank you for the follow. Thanks very much. Hey, there's my settlers guy. Yeah, thanks for the follow. So we've got let me see what we've got. Yeah, so if you have the debugger running, it will stop the program at the step where it senses that it's going to crash. Now, it's not foolproof. You can still absolutely clobber the OS if you know with it, but you know, a lot of sort of silly things that shouldn't happen will get caught, and you know, and it'll save you from the crash that might be, you know, sort of a pain to get back to where you were and stuff like that. So it's a good idea to have the debugger running. It just takes up a bit of screen real estate when you're on a small screen like this. But we'll switch it on just to show you what it can do. Now it gives you all this extra sort of tracing stuff that's nice. But here's your main toolbar. So at the moment we know it's waiting for me to press enter. But if we click stop, it won't actually stop immediately because it's waiting on input. It's waiting for me to press enter, and then you'll see down here it'll say it was interrupted just before the end because it waited for me to enter some code there. So that's good. It shows you where it's been interrupted, and you can quit that and go back to here. You can put what's called a breakpoint in your code with the word stop, and what that will do is that will tell the debugger that you want to stop there, and it will halt, and you can have a look at your program then. So if we run that, so we can see it's been interrupted straight away. What's happened is we've got our hello world line has come out, but the line with 5 on it hasn't come out, and we can see here that it stopped right where the stop is. So the next thing it's going to do is where the cursor is the end print that, and we can decide if we want to quit or if we want to if we click run, it will go back to what it was doing. It'll just carry on. Step will do the single command, and we can see if that behaves as it should. So we click that, we can see that has output the number 7. That's what we expected, and now we can see it's ready to execute the next command. We can choose step if we want to do that again, or we can choose skip to skip that one altogether, and now we're at the end, and step, and now we're back out. So it's a nice little debugger which has actually some pretty powerful features on it that I might go into at some other point. But yeah, it's a good idea to have that going all the time, basically in the background when you're doing some coding. Because let me think of what can I actually do that will be what would be a good error to catch that would normally bring a machine down. Divide by 0 is always a good one, isn't it? So let's say x equals 5 and y equals 0, and print x divided by y. So on the face of it, we know that's going to cause a black hole and whatever. A divide by 0 is never a good thing for a computer to do. And now I'm thinking about it, I wonder if the debugger is going to catch it, but let's find out. So because we're using variables, there's no way the compiler can know in advance really what is going to be in those variables. So let's compile it and see what happens. Oh, we've interrupted it here. Okay, let's just click run to carry on. Yeah, let's get that out of the way. So run. Oh. And it has given us an answer of basically infinity, which is oh yeah, and we're just waiting on me to press enter. Okay, that's slightly unexpected. Shouldn't be doing that, to be honest, but that is because of the nature of these variables. Now is probably a good time to talk about variable types. This is a quick type variable, and that is that's genuinely didn't expect that to happen. So this is a quick type variable, and what that can do is it can tell you fractions. It can hold fractions, okay? So it can hold a 16-bit number up to, so that's basically plus minus 32,768. So it can give you that with a decimal part as well. So what we're going to do is x5, so let's say z is equal to x divided by y, and we'll just do print z there. So if you now, you know what, actually I don't know about shifting a quick, whether it does just the decimal part or if it just basically clobbers your whole variable. That's a good question, very good question. We can experiment. Yeah, no problem, everybody. Good to see you, and yeah, I'll probably do 1 or 2 more of these as well. So I'll make sure the recordings are available. Well, thanks for joining in. Okay, so basically what we're expecting here is for this to give us a fractional part. Hey, Maketsa. Oh yes, how are you? Good to have you along. Yes, I do remember. And yes, welcome along. Good to have you. Are you going to be joining in the Amiga Game Jam, or the Blitz Basic Game Jam? That's kind of what I'm doing this in aid of. But yeah. I think you're probably a bit beyond simple variables and stuff like that yourself. But yeah, good to have you along anyway. Yeah. So we're expecting this to give us 2.5. And what we're doing is, yeah, and that is exactly what we got there. So 2.5. So that's a quick type variable. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so like I said earlier, these when you don't define a variable in Blitz, it defaults to what's called a quick type, and that is that basically has a fractional part. That means that the variable is 16 bits for the decimal part and 16 bits for the fraction part. That means it's a 32-bit variable, and on a 16-bit machine, like on a 68000, on an Amiga 500, Amiga 600, it's actually slower to deal with those variables than it is to deal with an integer, okay, which is without the fractional part. So if you don't need the actual fractional part, it's better to not use a quick variable. And how you do that is you add a definition to the front to the back of the variable, like so. X.w creates what's called a word variable, and that's an integer, a 16-bit integer. So that's the same as the first part of quick variable, but just the first. It's just the whole number part. So So basically, when you create a variable in Blitz, it automatically says that's a quick, and it's the same as doing x.q. So what we're doing is we've got x.w, and that means what we have here are word variables instead. So they're whole number variables only. So what'll happen is we will no longer get our fractional part, and half has gone missing. Okay, so if you need the fractional part, definitely you need to use quicks, but if you can avoid it, especially for game programming, if you're aiming at an Amiga 500 like a stock machine where you might not have a lot of CPU power, especially if you're doing calculations on it, because calculations, especially multiply and divide, are very slow, and if you're doing them on quicks, it is much slower than if you're doing them with integers. It's still slow with integers, so avoid it at full stop. But there you go. Anyways, you can see there that we 5 divided by 2 will give the answer 2 if you're using integers, because it's 2.5, but there's nowhere to put the 0.5. Bins that. Now, I am interested to see what it does if we finally get our compiler error, or our runtime error with dividing by 0. There you go. Now, the problem is that if you divide a variable by 0 when it's a fraction, 0 can sometimes have a value, and a very tiny value, which means that the variable is, the answer to dividing by 0 is essentially infinity. Yeah, so there we go. So now we can see our debugger is working, and it's after saying guru, which is a crash of the highest order. You know, we all know the guru, and that'll be a bad news for your software. And yeah, divide by 0, just something the CPU can't do. Boom, game over. But this is nice because it is said it's going to happen, so it won't actually happen. You can, if you really want to, you can press step and go in there and actually do it anyway and crash your machine, but you don't want to do that. So guru division by 0 tells you cannot do that, and that's why you have your debugger running, because if you don't have your debugger running, it will actually guru. That's it, reboot the machine. So quite nice that. A nice thing that the debugger has as well, which let me see if this is actually going to work. You can click on a variable. Oh, you can't. It might be because you have to do an extra step. I'll do that now in a second. But yes, guru division by 0. That has caught the program, saved the machine from crashing, and that's a good thing. Now, what I was going to say is I'm going to stop there and compile that. So now our code is interrupted, and when we do that, we should be able to click on a variable and get the value of the variable. So if we click on X, we're not getting it. I think we need to do one more step. So, I cannot remember how to do that. Maybe that's an AmiBlitz thing. No. Okay, well there's an older way of doing it. If you look at this toolbar here, we've got evaluate. So, I can't remember if that's it. So evaluate, and we're going to put in X. See, now there's the var button as well. Yeah, that's for setting up a watch on a variable, and that will trace the variable. So you can see there that if you to evaluate and Y, it gives you the contents of that variable. Now, for some reason, I thought you could double click it. Now I think that's an AmiBlitz thing, where you can literally click the variable, but it only works after you've gone one step within the debugger. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, but there you go. So, but evaluate is very, very nice. You can also do X plus Y and things like that, you know. So yes, that's good. What Nivrig is going through the calculations there. Yeah, if you're looking to make a game that runs to like a 50th of a second, or you know, that does a lot of calculations in a frame, like multiply and divide is even worse. It's isn't it like divide is even more? It's bad news. Bad news. But as I said, yeah, if you're using a quick, it's twice the number of calculations. So, you know, you're literally burning away hundreds of CPU cycles on something that you can really avoid by using a lookup table, or use integers. And if you want, like, let's say just a single decimal place, like just do everything times 10, and then, you know, just when you're printing the number, just print like a decimal place in the string, you know. Yeah, like divide is mental. Like it literally grinds your machine to a halt if you're doing a lot of them in your game, and you'll find, yeah, your frame rate drops and your game goes out the window because it's just not doable. So lookup tables are the way to go if it's complicated, or, you know, there's usually a simpler way of doing things like a shift. Now, yes, that reminds me, like, let's look at what it does if we do a left shift and a right shift on a var. Oh, yes, so we need to run this again so we can quit. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Now ASL and ASR, and there's LSL and LSR as well, which have a place in the world as well. But yes, you can do all of them in Blitz as a basic as well. So it just happens that we're dividing by 2 there, and if you look at things in binary, they are divide by 2. You know, basically every time you shift to the right, you're dividing by 2, and every time you shift to the left, you're multiplying by 2. And so that means like a shift is a very quick thing for a CPU to do. So 4 shifts to the left, let's say, is like whatever it is, 8 cycles or 16 cycles or whatever. And that's 16 cycles as opposed to you know, multiplying by 16, which is yeah, it's going to take you 70 cycles. So it makes a big difference doing that. So if at all possible, try to arrange things on binary borders, like have things multiples of 32, multiples of 64. It makes everything a lot neater. Yeah, but yeah, so it is a lot better if you use word variables, integers for that. But let's go back to using quicks for a second, and let's look at what happens if we do that. So yeah, we don't need that code. So X is 5, Y is Q. Well, you know what, we'll leave them as words first just to look at them. And what we're going to do is, this is a nice tool. So no, I think it might be an AmiBlitz thing. So bin string is a function that gives you a number in binary. Like, it makes a string of the binary representation of a variable, of a value. So we're going to do that. Now the problem is that bin string gives you a 32-bit number, so it's going to be a big long thing just for showing 5 and 2. But let's just run that and see what it looks like. Oh yeah, I meant to get rid of that. So here we have our 2 numbers. So we can see there's 5, because that's 1 plus 4, and this is 2. Okay, so there's our two numbers. Let's make that a little bit bigger in binary form. Now, for a shift to the right, what you're going to do is, you basically you're going to literally move those digits to the right, and that's all. It's a very simple thing, but that has the effect of dividing by 2 because binary is base 2. So we can see our number there. So what we're going to do is x. So we're going to shift x. X is 5, so that was 101. We're going to shift that to the left by 2, and we're going to see what that looks like now. Okay, so you can see here, got our binary number is 101, and that's 10100. So that's basically multiplied the answer by 4. So that means that's binary representation of 20. So it's a nice way of multiplying numbers if they're multiplying by powers of 2. Very, very nice. That's the way to do it. It's the only way to do it. Now, let's see what happens if we do that as quicks. Let's see. Oh, you know what? It works. Basically, it just treats them as integers. So that is very interesting, and this is a very good question, learning for me too, because a quick is 16 plus 16, but the 32, like the quick section, is it there? It might be stored somewhere else. Well, let's do something here. Let's add a fractional part on. Let's see if that shows up in our binary. No, it doesn't. So that's now. Oh, now here's the thing. We are doing an ASL here, and just for shits and giggles, we'll print the actual value of x at the end, and we see. Oh no, sorry. Yeah. What we should do in here is we should do x equals ASL2, so that we actually store the new value in x. Now let's see what happens. Now, here's the problem. So what it's done is, okay. See, now here's where it's important to pay attention to what kind of variables you're working with, because that's caught me out. Here we have 5 shifted to the left. It's 5.5 shifted to the left. So it is after actually carrying in a part of the fractional part here, which is cool. So that has worked. Yeah, so now we've got 10110. It's after doing the full calculation. That didn't happen before because it sort of basically cast the number to an integer before, and it just shifted it to the left. But because we've actually assigned it to the variable and it's a quick, it's stored the fractional part as well, and it's done the calculation based on the fraction. So it's shifted in an extra 10 here. You can see that wasn't there first, and that's after coming from the fractional part of the variable. Now, that is interesting, but it works. It's actually doing the multiply with the fractional part as well. Very, very interesting that. Now, that's probably because we're doing an ASL and not an LSL. So a logical shift left does the binary without dealing with anything else, and that's going to give you nonsense, I would guess. Oh no, it gives you the same thing. Yeah, now there you go. This is very, very interesting for me. Yeah, isn't it? Moderately surprising. It's actually correctly calculating the shift with the fractional part. Cool. This is good. Yeah, absolutely. This is something that I did not know, and now just for shits and giggles, we're going to change it to a float. Float is a different story altogether. There we go. Illegal operator for type. I think it's doing ASL and LSL are doing some extra funkiness in the background and converting back. Which to me feels like it's going to be quite slow. Yeah, that's exactly, and I think that's what's happening. So you cannot do a shift on a float. Now, float is different to a quick, and basically float variables in Blitz are full strength. They're full fat fractional. So you've got, you know, basically you can go to massive numbers and massively small numbers. And if you have an FPU, it will actually use it automatically. And if you don't have an FPU, it will use the operating system math libraries, which are a bit slower. They're very, very slow. Only use a floating type if you really need to. That they are incredibly slow if you don't have an FPU. So yeah, don't do that. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, but yeah, it must be doing that. It must be multiplying everything out and multiplying everything back. So it's basically shifting it to a 32-bit integer, doing the shift and then shifting it back. So okay, there you go. Funny things, these things. Okay, but yes, this is important because yeah, it's important to understand kind of what your variable's doing. But using a word variable is probably a nice thing to always do anyway. You know, if you're dealing with integers. Other variable types you have are byte. So word is a 16-bit. But they're always signed, so they're always plus and minus. So they go from it goes up to 32767 and goes down to minus 32768. Byte goes up to 127 and down to minus 128. So that's 8-bit. You don't really get a speed advantage from using a byte because you know even 68,000 has to do a 16-bit transfer anyway. So when you load in the variable, you're using 16 bits of the bus. It doesn't really matter. Unless you're doing some incredibly funky stuff. But, so generally, using a byte is only, yeah, there's no real advantage other than saving a byte of RAM. Yeah, if you're stuck for a byte of RAM, you've got problems. But yes, it does save a byte of RAM. And if you have a massive array, yes, yeah, you will save a byte for every, you know, you might save a couple of kilobytes there. But yeah, there may be situations, I don't know, I haven't really benchmarked it, where it makes sense to use bytes, but in general, it's not a big deal. Yeah, exactly. If you're cutting through your code trying to save 18 bytes so that you can put someone's full name in, yeah, by all means. But you're well beyond what, because Blitz Basic is going to give you an executable of about 40k for this for this code, so you know, yeah, looking for individual bytes here and there is like pissing in the wind. So yeah. Anyways, so words are probably the way to go for most things. I use bytes for things like flags, like, you know, is it true or not, because there's no bit, there's no Boolean variable in Blitz, so I tend to use bytes for that. If I'm dealing with values, unless I really know it's only going to be a low value, like, I'm not going to risk it, because what can happen is you define something as a byte, you write 6 months of code, and then you decide, oh yeah, no, actually, you know what, I'm going to add more than 100 tiles here, and all of a sudden you've got wraparound errors, all sorts of funkiness going on, and crumbs. Yeah, that's it. So you'll find these things quite quickly. There you go. Yes, dot B for booleans, but yes, it probably is my fault. Yeah. Now, just to be clear, the quick variables, even though they have a fractional part, don't use the FPU. That they're done with integer maths, and like Nivrik says, it's probably all done by shifting things all to the left and then shifting it back. So it is slow, and it is also 32 bits wide, so it takes 2 RAM transfers to load that number in. So yeah, don't use them unless you have to. Bytes and words are the way to go. But yeah, byte is yeah, a byte. All the variables will wrap around as well, so that's worth bearing in mind. So if you have a byte variable and you have, like, let's say 120 and y is 20, so let's get rid of all this stuff here. Print x, x equal to x plus y. Type, damn it. X equal to x plus y. We're going to get an overflow here. It's called an overflow, and what happens is the variable goes a bit nuts. So what's happened here is, in binary terms, you've filled up all your bits and you've added more to it, and it's just wrapped around to 0. And that in assigned terms is minus 128. So you've added on the extra few numbers there. So I added on 20 to 120, and so it should be 140, but it's 140 minus 256, because that's the maximum number of values you can have in a byte. So that is where, yeah, exactly. Pac-Man is the famous one, isn't it? Level 256. If you can get to level 256 in Pac-Man, it shits all over the screen. And yeah, that is purely why. Yeah, and lots of them. And I've got bugs coming out my ears because of that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, if you're using a number that you think there's any possibility at all it might end up getting bigger, it's probably safest to use a word, unless you're pretty vigilant with these things. Because if you decide that there's going to be, like, there's only going to be 50 spaceships in this game, or, you know, you can only have, like, you know, a score of 100, then fine, use byte. But then if you decide later on, actually, you know what, I think I can add more enemies to this, and all of a sudden you've got 130 enemies. When you get to 128 enemies, the game, like, you know, shits the bed. That's it. You know, that's not good. And it's probably because of something like this. So yeah, so there are situations like that where I would use a word anyway, just for future proofing it. But yeah, that's up to you. Yeah, so if we change that to a word, we will get the right answer. Switch off the debugger, Rob. 140. You see? Oh, yes, no, the debugger actually does have an option to test for that, but sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes you actually want a wraparound. There are situations where you might want that to happen. But it does have... Oh, no, it doesn't. The debugger in AmiBlitz has overflow checking. Okay, and you can switch that option on, and it makes it a bit slower, but it checks every calculation to see if it'll overflow. And if it does, it will give you, it'll stop the program and give you an error there, which is a nice feature. But yeah, anyway, not to worry about that. Sometimes it might be what you want. Okay, so that makes sense. Other variable types you might come across, or that you will need: long word. That is that's the full strength, all you can eat variable. That is a 32-bit integer, and that is the famous 4 gigabyte issue. That's the 4.3 billion values that can hold. Because it's signed, it's plus or minus 2 billion, 2.1 something billion. But that is that's slower. Obviously, it takes twice as long to do things with that than it does to do with a word variable. So you won't need that unless you think you're going to be getting massive high scores, or you're dealing with something that is supposed to be a long word variable. Where long words come into it are when you're dealing with certain operating system things, because they tend to use flags and addresses and pointers that are 32 bits long, and you need to use that just in case, because sometimes they use all the bits. Yeah, so it's just bear in mind that sometimes you need to use a long variable, but it's not. Yeah, it's not. Don't use it unless you have to. But know that it's there, and know that that's what it does. In AmiBlitz 3, you've also got a double precision floating type. So I was saying earlier, you've got floats. They take a long time. They're very slow without an FPU, but with an FPU they're very fast. So you know, you can do your fast multiplies on them and stuff like that. But they are very they're 32 bits wide, but also very slow on a non-FPU machine. On Ami Blitz, it's not in Blitz 2. On Ami Blitz, you've got a double precision float, which is 64 bits. That's pretty specialist stuff. If you're never going to need that for a game, but that's kind of like you know, precision physics simulations, not like game physics, but actual, you know, real world physics. You're not going to be using 64-bit precision for very much at all. But it is there if you're using Ami Blitz 3. It is extremely slow, because even with an FPU, you have to do it in multiple operations, because the FPU, the entire Amiga, is only 32-bit, so you have to do an awful lot of faffing about with it. Okay, anyway, they're all the variable types. The one that I have left to talk about is strings. Now we kind of mentioned them there earlier, and we can say we can put a string in that we get from the user or whatever. You can also define that as just for consistency with the different numerical types up here. You can define a string with .s instead of the $sign. They're not interchangeable, so name.s and name string are two different things. Okay. There are situations where you can only use this, but yeah, we'll come to that afterwards. But basically, they're the types of variables, and kind of, yeah, what they're used for, what you shouldn't use. But yeah, try to use as small a variable as you can is the general rule of thumb. But if you think you're going to be using a value that, you know, may at some point get close to the limit, it's probably worth either checking for that limit or going a size up to Word. Because Word generally is probably the one I'd use the most by a long way. Now, what do I talk about now? Yeah, let's go. Hello world. Yeah, tutorial 2. What do we do in tutorial 2? If then else. More complicated variables and yet new type variables I will get to. I don't know. Okay, two people have asked for new types. Okay, so we'll do new types. I was going to leave that for you know, it's a slightly more advanced topic, but new types are excellent, and they are if you've programmed in C, they're a struct. It's basically the same thing as a struct in C. So, but basically what a new type is a custom type of variable. So you see this, you've got x.w, so we know that's a word. If we go down here, let's have a look down here. We'll delete some of this crud, will we? And what we're going to do is we're going to make a new type. Well, arrays we're going to do. I've started talking about new types. I'll do that. Okay, and then I'll do arrays. Okay, so what a new type is a custom type. So you see X is a word type. We can make up our own types, and that might sound kind of a bit odd, but basically all a type is sort of a package of other variables. So we go new type dot rob. Okay, so this is the rob type variable, and in there we can have any number of other variables. So let's say age.w, and I'm making that a word because I'm confident I'm going to beat 128 years. And I don't know. Yeah. Now, in a new type, a string has to have a .s on it. It can't be addressed string. Okay? It's exactly a C struct. They are actually binary compatible with C structs. If you have if you define a struct in Blitz you can, or if you define a new type in Blitz, you can assign a struct to that from a C API, like the OS. And it is indeed used for a lot of stuff in Blitz if you go down that route. But yeah, so that's exactly it. And then like mood.b, and let's just go with something like that, okay? And yeah, exactly, yeah. A struct is a pseudo object. Basically, you're defining your own object. So what we've done here is we've made a variable type .rob, and it contains this data. Ah, 'tis yourself, sir. How are you? Welcome along. There's a couple of members of the Scottish Amiga group here. Good stuff. Object are structs without functions, or objects are struct. Yes, sorry, yes. Structs with functions. Yeah, basically, yeah, that's it. And Blitz doesn't really have the concept of classes and things like that, so that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a second generation basic. You can go to like the next generation basic, which is more object orientated, like like Visual Basic and stuff like that. That'll have full classes and all that. Exactly, yeah. And you can add methods to it then, and yeah, all that fun stuff. Well, yeah, Blitz doesn't have that. So, but yeah, that is the idea. Okay, so we've defined our new type here. Yes, we're in a technical mood. This is all with the Blitz Basic Game Jam, Andrew, in mind. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show off !jam, and there we go. So that is the link to the Blitz Basic Game Jam that is going to be starting in a few weeks. Click there and join up and make a Blitz Basic game, and it's going to be awesome. And so myself and a couple of the guys from the Scottish Amiga group are going to give it a go. You know, I can code. I have zero game design or artistic talent, so it'll definitely be a group effort, and we'll see what we come up with. But yeah, join in, and there's no kind of there are no restrictions on the type of game, or or how complicated or how easy it is. That nothing like that. It's yeah. Well, no, these tutorials will stop sharpish as soon as the the jam starts. That's it. This is your chance. But yeah, and Nivrig here is one of the judges, so be nice to him. Oh yeah. Yeah. There'll be radio silence once this kicks off, because I'm gonna need every spare moment I get, and I don't get many spare moments. But yeah, so here's our new type. We've defined it here. We've said it's a variable type that has 4 variables inside it. Okay, so now how you use that is, let's say we're going to call, we have to do def type. Now the def type keyword has a few different functions. For now, what we're going to do is def type .rob and let's say details. And now what that does is that creates a variable called details.rob. You can't just do details.rob equals 10, because that doesn't make sense. Okay, it's it's the kind of thing that might work in C in a kind of pointer / black magic kind of way. But yeah, no, don't do that. Don't do that, and I don't think it'll even work. But what you have here is the details variable itself isn't anything that you can use value-wise, but that's kind of what Blitz Basic has done with deftype.rob. Details is kind of the same thing as here. So details.rob is now a variable that has these sub-variables inside it called fields. And what you can do, or what you do is \age. And that's how you access it. So details \age equals, what age am I? 40. Have you? I think you need to declare a new type like that, because you can have different new types that have different fields. I'm pointing at the screen here thinking you can see it. Clearly not. Look at the pointer. So details \age equals 40. I don't think this will work, but let's give it a go. Garbage at end of line is Blitz's way of telling you you're talking shite. Yeah, it's like what I don't even know where to start with this. That's kind of what it's saying there. So you do need to declare the new type. Now, just for shits and giggles, details.rob. Watch this fall on its arse now. Oh yeah, no, can't assign expression. Okay. Can't assign expression. Basically, yeah, no, it doesn't know what to do with that either, but at least it's trying. So it said, yes, okay, I've got an expression here. I just can't put it where you want me to. So that doesn't work. Can't assign expression. Okay, it's not letting you do that. There are ways of doing that. What you can do is if you call it, if you define it as a pointer. I'm not going to get into pointers in this stream because pointers are black magic and I hate them. And well, no, yeah, no, they're fine, and I shouldn't scare people off using them. But you can do a pointer, and then you can assign a value to it. That is, yeah, that's kind of bad news. If you start assigning pointers, values directed to pointers like that, that's a no-no in Amiga land, no-no in any land really, unless you have 100% control over every byte and every address in your machine. Don't do that. Yes, lists are yeah, if you're using a list, there are reasons to do pointers, and they are very useful. They're very powerful. Treat them with respect. I'm not going to deal with them in this stream. Probably 2 or 3 streams down the way, because yeah, for even for a lot of games, you probably won't need them. Even for lists. Oh, Twisted 1981. Thank you for the follow. Thank you very much. Yay, Little Settlers, dude. Okay, so details \age. There we go. Okay, this is how you access the inner fields in a new type. So what this does is this takes the variable details and the subfield or the field age and puts the number 40 in it. Now, so that should work. Yeah, and it says 40. Okay, so we're getting our 40 out there. That's fine. That's working. We don't really need these guys up here anymore. Okay. Now, so that's fine. That is that's how you store a variable in there and how you get it back. You can do the same with the strings. You know, with all the other variables. So mood. Because mood 7 equals grumpy. You can, yes, you can have an array of details. Yes, exactly. And this is a good point, and I will do that after I do a one-dimensional array, just to save not to get too far ahead of things. Okay. So mood equals 7, and what's the address? Equals oh yeah. One Yemen Street, Yemen. For the Friends fans out there. So you haven't declared your variable. I've just gone straight with say. Did it? Ah, okay, you know what? I did not know that, but that makes sense actually. What do you know? Oh yes, there we go. Oh yes, very good, very good. Yeah, there you go. I did not know you could do that. So you can declare it in line like that. Nicely done, nicely done. Thank you. Good to know. there you go. I'm learning. Every day is a school day. So that's cool. I've always done it this way, but cool. Yeah, inline declaration like that is good. Yeah, mind blown. Okay, now notice that you don't have the .s on the end. You can put it there, but it doesn't really make a difference. But address string isn't going to work. Garbage in end line. So like, what the hell are you talking about? What's going on? Can't do that. Okay. Oh, I've saved that on top of an example. Oh, okay. Fine. Well, I don't think there's a correct, because Blitz supports declaration inline. So that's no different to doing x.w up here, because like what you could do is up here do def type.w. So it doesn't have to be a new type that you declare. So def type.w, then x, y, z. And that sets up the x, y, and z variables all to be words. So that is kind of, that it probably is nicer practice, especially when your code gets really big, to do it that way. I'm kind of, yeah, bigger code, I'll tend to do it that way. Smaller programs, I'll do it inline like that, just the first time you use a variable. Now, AmiBlitz 3, you can use the, it's one of the new features is to actually enforce these rules. So AmiBlitz 3, you can set it that it will give you compiler error if you don't do it this way, which is kind of like the I suppose the more correct way. Let's say it's the way you would do it in other languages, I suppose. No, you're all right. It's a good discussion, you know. I'm happy with that. So, but yeah, so def type like that, and then you can do a different line. So dot long, and then oh well, I can't do that. Then like let's just say, you know, so you can do it that way, or you can declare it inline. It doesn't really matter. What I do like to do in AmiBlitz is to make sure that you have to declare one way or another. So either inline or at the top with the def type, because if you don't, it will make an assumption that you want quicks, and then you're going to end up with another world of hurt. Oh no, and here's another thing you do actually to get out of the habit of using quicks if you're not going to use them, is simple as that, and then you don't need to declare things like that, you see. So now that has set them up as quicks, and what that does is that sets everything that you without a declaration as a dot word, and which is a nice thing. If you're mostly going to be using dot words, you can do it that way. I like to be in the habit of declaring everything anyway, either there or inline, but yeah, you know, like that's me. But yeah, it is that is a nice trick. So it sets it up for the entire code. Now, so our new type, does that make sense to everyone? So we can, you know, I'm going to, can I undelete that? Yeah, undelete that, and then that's a good tune actually. Good coding music. Oh no, you can't. You can't assign and initialize at the same time. That's effectively what this is. X.w equals 120. So that's doing that same thing. And it's the same as you can't initialize it. You can't initialize an array to a value and stuff like that. Yeah, for basic stuff, the inline way is a nice way of doing it. So the first time you see a variable, first time it's actually used is where you see what it's used for. It is a nice way to do it. Age, and it's like, okay, so we're going to print the age and address here. Oh yeah, yeah, new types within new types. That is that is a nice feature as well. So there we go, and you can see we're just printing out our two values from within the thing. That's it. Yes, you can do new types within new types. So yeah, like I'm going to use your example there. Or yeah, dot and so let's say we've got a new type, it's coords, and then we can do location dot. Now, does that make sense to everyone? So now, look, if I was doing this in AmiBlitz, you see, it would be highlighting the different fields and stuff in different colors, and it would make this a little bit neater to see. But I hope it's coming across anyway. So we can do details age. So and we can do that, and then we can do y. So we can set coordinates like that. So that works quite well. You can also do an array in a new type, but, and there's a big but, it is not, well, okay, you know what, I haven't talked about arrays yet. I'll go back to that. Hold that thought. Now, so, yeah, so you can see, you can have multiple layers of it there. Now, what I will say is, it is a little bit slower. I'll show that now in a second. Yeah, no problem, Amiga Gamer. Using new types is a little bit slower because it sort of drills down through the references, so it has to dereference things on the fly. It's like, to be honest, it's not a big deal, and I tend to use it if I'm going to do a lot of manipulation with a variable. I'll put it into a standard variable, but usually if things are only going to be accessed once a frame or something like that, it doesn't make a huge deal or a huge difference. So that's it. You can also use pointers to directly access a subfield and stuff like that, you know, and there are ways of getting around it. But from a programming perspective, having a structure like that is really, really nice to give you to have your data organized in a nice way. Yes, so let's say we want to put age and address. Oh well, no, okay. What I'll do is I'll put the age and location. You can do both. Yes, you can. So endprint can take any number of arguments. So you know, so that'll work, and it'll print the two of them one after another. So that's fine. What you can do is you can do a plus there, and what that will do is the computer will add the strings together and then give them to endprint to output. The end result is the same. You get hello world. But what you can do is, the simplest way to do it is do something like this, and you put a space in there. Yeah. Yes, I would like a new pint, please. I've only got water. Oh, I should have got a beer. There's none in the fridge. Next stream, I'm going to have some beers. Oh, well. Okay, so if you endprint age, and it will yeah. So what you can do is that's the first argument. You do a comma and then you can add another argument here, and we do now. Does that make sense? you need the string str string command. You will need that if you want to add the strings together, because you can't add a string and a number. You have to add a string to a string or a number to a number. So if you want to add, you need to convert the number to a string first, but you don't need to do that for endprint, because endprint will take a number directly as an argument. So you put a comma in, second argument is the number, third argument is this extra string with a little comma there for neatness, and the fourth argument is a number. Now, endprint and all the string things work exactly on what's in the quotes. So if you don't put a space in there, the number will be right next to the colon there. Okay? So anyway, let's give that a go and see what it looks like. There we go. Age 40. Address 1 Yemen Street, Yemen. Okay? So, to do it, Grey Amiga there has different thing. If we do a plus in there, plus, plus, it's essentially the same thing, but we get an error, can't convert types. Exactly, yeah, exactly. The plus is a cat and add and afterwards, because in Blitz the strings are treated like a primitive. They're like another type of variable, another type of numbers, effectively. So you can do some nice manipulation like that, like just assigning. You don't need to worry about allocating the memory or anything like that. And you can do direct comparisons and direct copies and stuff like that. It's nice. Now, so to make this work, you can't add a number to a string, so okay. Now that should work. Oh, array S or T string, no, ST or string. There we go. And it's the same thing. It's just added it. It's just converted the string to a number and then added it as a string first. There you go. That all makes sense? I will take your silence as yes. Now, I'm going to take a quick bio break and I'm going to get a snack, and I'm going to be back in a minute or two. In the meantime, I will leave you with that beautiful grey screen, and I'll turn up the mods a little bit. Where is my OBS? There we go. There we go. What have we got? Because I will leave it. I'll leave it alone. Back in a sec. Right. What did I miss? And where are the mods gone? What's happened here? Yeah, who's entered the game jam? I got to talk about arrays now in a minute, but I'm just going to take a snack. And the Blitz Basic Game Jam has a Discord channel, or a Discord server. And you can join it there. Oh. And because I was playing with Nightbot, I little shout out for the Scots. So yeah, it looks. I think there are like 21 or 22 people signed up to the game jam when I last looked at the page, which is very cool. You know, that's good considering there's a few weeks to go before it even starts. But yeah, if we get another few people to sign up and to enter, that would be brilliant. Prizes include a mini A500. Let's see, and there are some more added all the time. What have we got? What have we got? Oh yeah, a deluxe mini monster retro gaming joystick kit. Yeah, so it's kind of arcade style 2-button joystick for the Amiga. And then we've got a couple of boxed games. We've got a flip box. And then for the judges' pick, the opportunity to have your game published, like big box published. Yeah, I think that'd be good. I think people might be daunted. Like because I know I was kind of like in two minds about entering because there's no way I'd have the time, or the or the artistic merit to do the whole lot from by myself. So, you know, a user group like that, you know, you might get someone who's like, yeah, okay, I'll do the coding, and then someone else can do the sound, and someone else can do, yeah, the artwork and stuff. Yeah, that's the way to do it. And then you can share the Amiga Mini. But yeah, so there's no there's no strict restriction as such on the, like I was saying earlier, on the game type or anything like that. Don't you shouldn't feel like, oh, I don't think it'd be good enough or anything like that, because it doesn't have to be a complicated game to be a good game. If you have an idea and it's a good idea, team up with someone, and do it. There's also on the Discord server, there's a channel for for people looking to team up, and already in there there's a couple of people who have offered like music and sound, I think. So so the people who are looking to let's say join up with a coder and and help out. So have a look at the Discord there and find someone to team up with if you don't have a local user group or whatever or know someone who wants to. Salty. Oh yeah, Yeah, feature creep is a big thing. A big thing. Yeah, I'm a sucker for feature creep. It's a big problem. But yes, yeah, that's it. I think we're going to struggle with that. We've been bouncing around some ideas in the Scottish group for a game to do, and it's yeah, it's yeah. They probably need to temper it a bit, but yes, it is always a problem, I think, and that's it. I think Dan has been the host, Super Dan, has been giving some good advice on that. Exactly, scope creep is the enemy of shipping. Exactly. Because you can write software and it will never ever be finished. You just keep on adding more stuff to it. Like, how long is Windows going? Oh yes. Sorry, yeah, I was going to get to that. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can create full system-friendly software, by just directly accessing the API, and that is no problem. But it does also have a direct library for supporting commodities, and to treat commodities essentially as a Blitz object. So yeah, I've written a few commodities, and it's relatively straightforward to do. There are two commodity libraries actually. There's one that's a basic commodities, literally just hotkeys and double running it, and there's one that lets you actually modify the input stream, and so you can insert events and stuff like that, and you can control the flow of events with towards the OS, and so it's quite a powerful library, but obviously a bit more involved to set up. But yeah, I've what I do, Ranchero is a commodity. That's like Ringio for OS4. It's a clone of that for OS3. That's a commodity. SMB mounter is a commodity that I've done. I wrote some terrible screensavers back in the day, those commodities. It's terrible, both in looks and in CPU usage. Yeah, the more complicated one of the two libraries will do that. That's a nice idea. There you go. They're back in the day. That's yeah. Blitz has been very nice. It's been sort of designed from the ground up to do both the oh, Banjo Guy Ollie. Hey, welcome along. Welcome along, Banjo Guy Ollie. Welcome, and welcome Raiders. How was your stream? Were you exploring some new exciting instruments? What were you doing? Were you playing games, or what was on tonight? Hello, welcome along, Fixado. Welcome, guys. Oh, nice. I've caught a few of those streams. They're if anyone's watching, they're a lovely accompaniment when you're coding. Have a bit of Banjo Guy Ollie on in the background. It's great stuff. You know what? Let's see. Hello, guys. Welcome along. Thanks for popping in. Did that work? Oh, that didn't work. That's me. Oh dear. Okay, I'll have to fix that. But sorry, Banjo. I got the link right. Anyway, give Banjo Guy Ollie a shout. He does some awesome. His like incredible mastery of about 5,000 different musical instruments, and creates some great stuff. Lots of game music covers and stuff like that. Yeah, give him a shout. Give him a look. I have to go fix my Nightbot. which I've only just used for the first time tonight. Okay, I didn't write that screensaver. Someone asked there. No, that's the standard Amiga OS one. I wrote other ones that were kind of, yeah, they used far too much CPU time. That was the main problem with them. But anyways, what we are doing here tonight, Ollie and Raiders, is we're looking to get people started on... Oh, sorry, you were talking to Nivrig. Okay, I'm looking to get people started on Blitz Basic, and to, you know, people who may have coded a little bit before, to get them going on Blitz Basic with a view to entering the Blitz Basic Game Jam, which is happening starting the 1st of June. So, yeah, so that's so that's coming up. It's a game jam. It's basically make a game. Doesn't matter if it's big or small. You enter your game. There's some pretty cool prizes. Monster joysticks. There's a monster joystick. There's an Amiga 500 Mini. Some box games. Some pretty cool stuff there. Oh yeah, thank you, Nivrig. And there's a nice Discord channel for some support. And so you know, the idea is to give it a go, and you know, so hopefully we get a few people joining in. That's the plan anyway. So what I was doing is, let's wakey. What's happened here? Yes, that is a shame, because it was cancelled kind of last minute as well, because we were all set up for Amiga Ireland in January. Yeah, this is gonna ruin things again. See if this one works. Ha. Okay. Yay. So every year there's the Amiga Ireland meetup, but obviously COVID did that one in. We were going to have a new one in January, and everyone was looking forward to it. It was going to be amazing. And then basically the whole lot kicked off again around Christmas, and we kind of had to cancel it at short notice, which was a shame. So but yes, maybe next year I'll have to get onto the powers that be and try and get that sorted. Actually, that's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I have to have a proper Amiga meetup now soon. Yes, and yeah, the Amiga Ireland one especially, it's essentially a 2-day bender with Amigas. It's pretty awesome. It's a heavy weekend. But yeah, hopefully now next January things will be back to normal, or back to normal enough that we can do that, because it's a big one. The online one was pretty good, and that worked well because we had a bit of notice to it. I think, you know, that was it. We were able to plan quite a bit for it, but it just this year it didn't, because of such short notice, it didn't really translate. Yeah, that looked good. The One Life Left event, yeah. The OLL event, and you know, even just one of the NAG pub events, I'm all for it, because you know, up until COVID we used to have the Scottish Amiga one every few months as well, and that'd be in a church hall, few Amigas, sensible soccer tournament, everyone goes to the pub. It was great. So yeah, we're going to have to make up for lost time, I think. Anyway, I've had my snacks, I've had my raid, I've said hello to a load of people. Now let's talk about arrays. Oh yeah, Amiga 37, and that is my birthday weekend as well, and it's in Germany, and I love Germany, and I'm really trying to get there, but we're also trying to buy a house, so yeah, like a 3-day bender away without you know, by myself, when the rest of the family is kind of like, yeah, no, we can't have this. So what did you do, Nivrig? I want to see what that was. What happened there? What's it? What? Excess caps? The limit is 8. The number of caps. Ah, come on. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. literally, because the cloud bot that I was using just wasn't working. Well, it wasn't working properly, so I changed to Nightbot like yesterday, and I haven't used it yet. Sorry about that. I have now upped it to about 100 letters, so go nuts. Anyways, yes, variables. Whoa, it works. Variables, yes, variables and arrays. So now we've looked at new types variables. We are going to look at an array now. So let's just clear space here. An array is basically a bunch of variables with a common name that are indexed by a number. Where's my ban button? So we've got an array. Let's say let's say you want to keep scores of, or keep health values of, let's say 10 enemies. So you can do dimension is how you set up an array. Dimension. Like let's say 12. Now, how an array works is you can say health 2 for enemy 2, you know, and so on. Okay, so does that make sense? It's fairly simple stuff, right? But what you have to bear in mind is that 12 in Blitz Basic actually means 13 elements are assigned. So an array of 12 in this context means 13. So health 0 actually exists, and health 12 exists as well. Okay, so yeah, so health 12 is actually suitable for 13 enemies, let's say, and yeah, so you can store 13 values in there. Now you can give that a health.w to make it a word variable, or to decide whatever you want in your variable. And this is where you might start to save in memory. Like, you know, if you have yeah, if you have 1,000 and you leave that as a .quick, that'll take an extra K. Yeah, a baker's dozen. But yeah, so basically there you'll waste 1,000 bytes of memory by doing that, by doing a .q instead of a .w. Yes, exactly. So you're defining the index of the final element. Now, it's an important distinction, and I'll tell you a little bit why later. But for now, yes, that is the last element. So if we're there and 12. Okay, so that's it. So you can treat it like any other variable. Health 8. Well, I'm going to do that to show you that this is a way of counting down. So health, that variable is equal to that variable minus 1. So it'll calculate the right hand side here and then save it back into that variable. Now there's shorthand for this actually, and Blitz has. So in C, you would do minus minus to take away a number, or plus plus to add a number, to increment or decrement. In Blitz you can do minus 1. So health minus 1 is the very same thing as health equals health minus 1, and the same for plus. But you can do plus 2 and plus 5 or whatever, if you want to add 5 to something or take 5 away, whatever, that it's just a neat little shortcut. And I find that actually makes the code a little bit neater, a little bit tidier, and I think it's easier to read like that. So that's how you're that's what an array is. So you can do yeah. Oh, I shouldn't have. And what this should do is that should print our health 2, the contents of health 2 and the contents of health 8, which will be 0 and -9. Or sorry, 0 and 9, because we've done a -1 on it. So 0 is because it hasn't been defined yet. And in Blitz, all variables are initialized to 0 when you create them. Not every language does that. Blitz does it when you first use a variable. If you don't assign a value to it, it assigns 0. Okay, so dim is how you set up an array. You can also do 2-dimensional arrays, 12 by 10. So this is probably more useful as a map or something like that. But basically, yeah, you can have a list of 12, a grid of 12 by 10 slots. Effectively, you can do 3 dimensions. You can do any number of dimensions as well. Just bear in mind that before you kind of get the idea to do like a 7-dimensional array for something, that you're going to start absolutely tearing through your memory if you do that. Like, because you don't realize how big an array can get when you got 7 dimensions involved. But yeah. So that's how you set up an array. It's it also means that you can use a variable for your index, and that's where the arrays start to get quite powerful. So if we go up here, we can see that my mood is 7, so I can say, basically that the health in whatever cell details/mood points to is the right one. Now, you have to be careful. You have to be very careful not to go beyond 12. So if you try to imprint health 13, that'll be a big error. Array subscript out of range. Now you can see that the debugger has caught that and has saved you from crashing your machine. That is going, basically, if you try and do that, it tries to read other memory, which isn't going to necessarily crash the machine. But if you try and save numbers to that slot, you're probably going to at least corrupt your game, possibly corrupt some other structure, do nasty things to your machine, and probably crash it. So just be careful you don't access anything past the end of an array, because if you do, with the debugger is fine, but if you do that in the real world, not going to be happy. If with your compiled game or whatever. Yes, indeed you can. And that's it, George. So as well as using like a primitive like this, you can do health.rob, or let's just say we'll leave it at that. So instead of just storing numbers, now we're storing raw, these sub arrays, or these sub elements. So health.rob. So we can do a health details mood. This is and then you can that's just making things complicated there. So we could send that back to 8, or that back to 2, and then we can look at the age there. Okay, and so that'll print the age of the second person's age in that array. So that is an array of and each sort of cell in this array, each index in this array has all of these properties, if you like, or all of these subfields. So each one has an age, an address, and they're all independent. So you just have to remember to do your references there. Okay, and that should work fine. And that's so we're getting the same values there because we've done the same thing to them. And so it's 10 minus 1. But if we just run the same code but looking at a different one in number 7 instead, we see we've got zeros because we haven't touched them yet. So each member of that array, each element, has its own separate sub fields, and each of those is independent. So things can get quite powerful quite quickly, and you can get like an enemy can have coordinates, like enemy 8 can have its XY coordinates, and that you can keep track of your data quite easily like that. Yeah, it does. It does indeed. Um, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it is a nice way of doing properties of a number of enemies, or a number of objects on screen. Even yeah, absolutely. And if you were doing a map, so you can do let's do like, let's say you were making a map, you can do a 12 by 10 grid, and each tile on the map can have a tile ID, can have other properties like damage taken, or objects present, or can you walk there. That kind of those kind of properties can all be stored in there. Yeah, so that's it. So yes, there is a random function. It is it's not the best random function, to be fair, but it is serviceable. And you can assign a random value to stuff. But yeah, so that's quite it's quite a powerful way of keeping track of data and organizing it with your arrays, because it's you can use a variable for your index. You can loop through it. You can access any one of them, any of that information whenever you want, or one after another with a counter or with a loop. I'll get onto loops now in a minute. But yeah, so that works quite well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yes. That is what I meant to do. Yeah, you can add an extra dimension to the array to have a second layer of properties, or you can have the properties as part of the subtype of each cell. So you could have let's just put together a new one here. Like so, new type, new pipe. So a tile ID, and let's say yeah, is it a walkable flag, and a visible flag, and then an object. That's an available object on that cell. So now you can do a map.cell 12,10. So that's a 12 by 10 grid, and each square has a tile ID, walkable, damage, visible properties, and an object present. So map. So the top left corner, let's say 0,0. The tile used equals shape 16, let's say, and that's like a top wall. Yeah, so something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. So you can do it that way, or you can use an extra dimension and have these subfields as a number instead. It's kind of, yes, it's more or less the same story either way. Let's see, and then 0 backslash and what did I do there? Oh yeah, and true and false are keywords as well. They basically equal numeric values 0 and -1, so they can be used for just to make the code a bit more readable. But basically internally they're just 0 or -1. So so you can do that kind of thing for for having multiple layers as well. Oh yeah, or properties of a tile, or if you've got different floors, you can have a 3-dimensional array as well. So it is, combining that kind of stuff is quite powerful, and it's nice. It makes code quite easy to follow, relatively easy to follow. Now, what I was going to say about arrays before is if you have a new type. We'll do it down here. You can have an array within a new type. So instead of having the object field there, what if we had objects, and we're going to say 10. Now, notice that they're in square brackets, because this is a very different type of array to these ones with the roundy brackets. For a couple of reasons. Well, first off, because it's in a new type, you can only use primitives. So it can only be a .w, .q, .l, .b. But second off, that is not the final index. That is the number of elements. So if you try to access objects.w10, you'll get an error or you'll get a crash. So don't do that. But those arrays can be accessed using the square brackets like that. So you can store up to 10 objects within that tile, let's say. But yes, that is a bit of a gotcha if you're used to 12 being the highest index you can use there. You cannot do that. You have to stop at 9. So it might be worth your while just adding on one there if just spending that RAM for safety. If you think you might forget about that. But yes, it's an important distinction, very, very important to remember that and to not break that rule, because without the debugger there to help you, and you don't have the debugger there when you're running the executable by itself, once you go out of here, once you compile a standalone program, the debugger won't help you, and you'll get a hard crash, or you'll get your program shitting all over your screen, or you'll get something bad will happen. So just bear that in mind. So there you go. But it is handy. It's quite nice to be able to do that. Like in this example, to be able to say, right, got up to 10 objects can be stored in this particular tile in your map. Yeah, just these are arbitrary examples, obviously, but that's a way to look at it, and a way to a way to organize your information like that. So we've gone a little bit deep into variables and into arrays and stuff like that. Does that all make sense to everyone? Probably do one more thing and then call it. I'm just thinking, what else was there? Yeah, absolutely. I'm not entirely sure. I would imagine so as well. So yes, that is a fair point. And it's the same with the new type as well. If you've got sort of nested things, yeah, okay, we'll do some loops. With nested things, it's tricky with nested things. With nested new types and stuff like that, it basically your code has to hop through the layers, and that can sometimes add some CPU requirement to it. So try to be sensible about it. Don't go absolutely nuts with it with a 7-dimension array unless your game actually works in 7 dimensions. Night, George. Thanks very much for popping in, and we'll chat again soon. But yeah, so yes, don't go to 7 dimensions, because every one of them, like Nivrik says, is probably a multiply. To basically what you're doing here is you're multiplying 2 by 5 by the size of the array object, which is defined by the size of the new type, and that's how you get your offset. That's how the memory is organized internally, and the compiler will do that. So the compiler will basically reference it like that. So yeah, so it's probably a good idea to not go too nuts with it. But at the same time, if you've got a big program and you've got lots of stuff going on, you might reach a point where you just can't keep track of it anymore, and the project doesn't get finished at all, rather than running a bit slowly. So there's a trade-off there, and you can sometimes get to a point where you're just like, I have to start from scratch because I don't know what's going on, and I can't be arsed doing that, so I am going to abandon it and start something new. So yeah, so try and avoid that. Now, loops was next. Okay, so to automate things and to do things repeatedly, there are a few different types of loops you can do in Blitz Basic. The first one is the for loop, which is kind of common of all basics, all languages pretty much. I'm trying to think. Like it's even called a for loop in most languages. Like I'm trying to think of a language that doesn't, but I'm sure there are, but they have an equivalent, you know. And basically, this is this loop is a counter loop. So what we'll do is we do have an open file already. So a for next loop basically loops is a counter, and it loops through a section of code by a certain number of times, and it looks like this. And I is a traditional index variable. Yeah, just accept it. You can use it. It's a normal variable. You can use any name you like. Simplest one for I equals 1 to 10, and print I next I. Oh, and nest your code. For the love of God, nest your code. I didn't nest my code. It hurts me. It hurts me to go looking at my code now. So the Blitz editors, the decent ones, not the very the basic one, they will nest your code. Like if you press tab to move in your code, like I did there. So I put tab, it indents the code, and then when you press enter, it will keep the indent for you. Do it, accept it, you know, because your indents will make the code so much easier to read, because you can see that the stuff inside the loop is indented. You know that that's all the stuff that's involved in that loop. And okay, so this little program will just start the counter the variable I at 1, and it will count to 10. And each time it goes, so basically it's the first time it goes through, it'll be 1, the value will be 1, it gets to next I increments it to 2, and it starts again. And next I will keep on sending the program back to the top and around that loop until I is equal to 10. Now, including when I is equal to 10. So basically next I, when I is 10, it will go up here and do the loop, and then I will become 11, and it will carry on. Yeah, it is easy when you get, like, you know, because you can get some nested stuff that that means you end up getting indents all over the place, and it can suddenly be a bit of a mess. But yeah, so there you go. That's how you that's how you write a simple loop. Let's just run that and see what it does. And let's make that a bit bigger. And there we go. Simple as that. It just end prints each value one after another, and then waits for me to press enter. Very simple. And it's very useful. Now, you can also do, if you want to change it, like the number it steps in. So step 2. Okay. That will basically make it count in 2s. By default, it goes up 1. It increments every time. Oh, I meant to. So what that does is it starts at 1, and then 3, 5, 7, 9, and then the next one is 11. It doesn't repeat on 11, and so it ends the loop there. What you can do it the other way around, 10 to 1, but you have to step -1, because otherwise it'll start at 10 and keep counting up 1, and it'll go basically until the variable overflows back to 0. So you'll end up with 65,536 printouts there. So yeah, just be careful of that. I'm going to turn off the debugger, and you can see what happens there. That goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. Yes, arrays love loops. Loops are very good for dealing with arrays. So yeah, let's go up here and we can do things like And that's as simple as that. And you just print out the 10 values that are in there, counting from number 10 to... we'll show you our 11 elements here. For I was not 10. So... just to make it obvious, there we go. And you can see the fourth element there is 100. And that's the fourth element because we start at 0. And so 0, 1, 2, 3. And that's 100. So yeah. 4 next loops work very well with arrays that are a definite size. Okay, now there is another type of array that I actually should have mentioned. There is another type of array called a list array, and that's kind of dynamic. As in, it does in Blitz you still have to define a size. In Amiga Blitz you don't have to, and it's truly dynamic. But in Blitz 2 you have to define a size. But once you do, it acts like it changes size based on however many items you store in it. Now, they're a bit tricky to they're a little bit more involved. I might do them on another stream, but a list array you cannot access with an index like that, or you can, and the compiler won't give you an error, but you're entirely at the mercy of how the memory is arranged. And if the memory decides that it's not working out for you, and you add and take away a thing, and you're not supposed to. Basically, yeah. Sorry, yeah, I'm about 10 seconds behind, I think, on the chat. But yeah, basically, you're not supposed to. You don't get an error because it's still an array, and you can still put a number in there. So technically, the compiler allows it. But what happens is a list array, you can rearrange the order of things, and you can delete things from it. You can add things, you can insert things in between it, and when you do that, the order is not what it looks like anymore. So first off, your index is nonsense, and second off, if you delete it and that memory happens to be used for another variable, you're just going to be looking at random garbage. So that's it. But a list is very, very cool. It's cool for games as well, to be fair. I've used that. I've used them for keeping track of objects on the screen. So Dodgy Rocks is a good example. I'm pretty sure that has a list of all the running rocks, and so as a rock falls off the bottom of the screen, it just tugs it from the list. It does, so the array gets one smaller, even if it's not the last rock. So the array, you're always looking at, like, it's almost like a stack. It's kind of like a stack, but it's a random access stack. It's it is a nice feature, and I'll cover them in a bit more detail, I think, at some other point. But they have their penalties as well, but they are a very nice feature for all sorts of things. But yes, you cannot use a loop with that kind of array, but with a standard static array like this, it works very well. Okay, so so you can do whatever you want with it, like, so test I is equal to let's say 15 times I. I'm going to delete that, put that underneath. So that will fill up our values with, actually, and then we go down here, so mprint, that's basically our 15 times tables. So nprint tests 6, that should give us 6 times 15 is 90. There you go. So you can use that to assign, a loop like that to assign values. If it was clever programming, you can kind of do that. Thanks very much. It makes a change. I've been mostly doing games. I've done a bit of coding a while back when I was working on my Solus project for a while, and that was a mixture of of C and Blitz Basic, and I was switching between PC and the Amiga and doing all sorts of stuff on it. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, for the last while I kind of got hooked on a bit of Settlers, which I need to finish actually. But yeah, I was playing a bit of what was I playing there? A-Train actually. But yeah, I thought, yeah, with the Blitz Jam coming up, we'll do a bit of programming again, and it's quite nice actually. But yeah, good constructive chats from the audience there, our viewers. Thanks for that. So, oh, is he? He'll be doing from the very opposite end of things, I'd say. He's be doing assembly, is he? Or assembler? Yeah. Oh yeah, he's talking directly to the chips, like. It's impressive stuff. But yeah, that's cool. I might give that a look. My assembly's a bit rusty. Or, well, when I say a bit rusty, like, it started off a bit rusty and it hasn't improved. Oh, is he? Oh, nice. At some point, actually, you know what? During the jam, I might stream the actual development of whatever game is, like, provided it's not giving too many trade secrets away. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how the lay of the land is. Yeah, see, that's just nuts. That's like no. It's just like bonkers. Yeah, I switch between two different like documents in work and I get confused. Yeah. Yeah, but that sounds like his kind of thing, all right. But okay, so that's a loop there. 4 next loops are quite good. While loops are another kind of loop. So, and they are, again, you get similar things in most languages. It's a conditional loop, and it will repeat until a certain condition happens. Or, well, no, it repeats if a certain condition is true. Okay, so this is quite a common one for my coding. Is or no, well, like, let's see, while. Let's just arbitrary. Yeah, while definitely for lists is a while end loop. Yes, very good. Entry controlled loop, exactly. While, because you support because it supports while and it supports until, and they're 2 separate types of loop, and an entry control loop is exactly it. So I'm just trying to think of a use case. Let's see. Now, this is a little bit of code here. If joy b0 is basically the reading the first joystick port, which is actually the mouse. So basically, if it's reading the buttons, so if no buttons are pressed, if any button is pressed, then flag will be true. Okay. If then is yeah, making the decision. Sorry, I'm after springing that on you. So let's move that down a bit. So this is how you make a decision. If this condition is true, then do this. Okay, so and I've made a bit of a shortcut here. Basically, if you do a variable, or if anything is true, anything non-zero is treated as true by Blitz. Okay, so if the joy B value is anything other than 0, then flag will be true. So what this will do is this will busy loop, and we're gonna do. Oh, let's also do. so we can see that it's doing something. Okay, so we've got a little counter going there as well. Oh, yeah, so we can see there, as soon as I make that bigger. Now, see, and then, so what's happened is that counter has been going, it keeps on saying flag is false, and then when I clicked the mouse, it exited the loop. Okay, so that's done that. Now, if flag is true, to start with, it gets to while, and it says while flag equals false, do this, but flag isn't false, so it's not going to do that at all. It doesn't do it. Nothing happens. It goes straight to the end, and we fall at the end. Now, that's a while loop. A repeat loop is kind of the opposite. A repeat loop has to execute at least once, because it doesn't check until the end. And instead of end while, it's until flag. Okay. Now, what will happen is, because we're starting off with flag is true, it will we can't say flag is false, so okay. Oh, no terminating quote. Yes, thank you. So check. So an until loop always executes at least once, and you can see it even though flag was true, checking flag, it's after falling at the end. It's after checking it anyway, just to make sure, and because it doesn't actually check the value until it gets down to the bottom here. Okay, so we get similar behavior if we do false, except we know that the loop is always guaranteed to run at least once. But there we get the same kind of behavior. And then when I click the mouse there to resize the window, it's after stopping the loop. Okay, so there's 3 different types of loop. I think that's kind of it, unless you're kind of rolling your own loops, which you can do by it's sort of a go-to loop or something like that. Yeah. We'll avoid that one for now. But yeah, so basically they're the 3 kind of the main loops. Well, the correct answer is you don't use a go-to over anything. But no, there's no need to use a go-to over everything. Yeah. And to be fair, there are reasons to use go-tos. I'm being facetious. There are certain situations where you've basically got no choice but to use a go-to in Blitz. It's due to certain compiler things, like if you want to set up a yeah, that's me. If you have to set up a go-to to basically jump over a lump of code that you want the compiler to include, but it has to be part of the main body of code. So you can't put it after the end, because the compiler will just snip that off, because execution never gets there. But you have to jump over it, and that's used for things like setting up OS hooks. Like you'd use that sometimes in MUI applications, and it's a bit it's a bit it's a necessary evil, but it's basically jumping over a chunk of the code that you don't actually want to use ever. There's no, I think there are enough other constructs to use that you don't need to use goto. What do you mean, jump over a loop? Do you mean if you don't want the loop to ever execute? Because basically, if you don't want the loop to ever execute under certain conditions, that sounds like a while loop to me, rather than a go to, if something, then go to whatever. But yeah, 8-bit was built all around that, because a lot of the 8-bit basics didn't have structures. All you had was go to and go sub, and if and for, and that was basically it. You couldn't, a lot of them didn't have while, they didn't have repeat until, so you literally couldn't do that. So yeah, so you probably don't need a go-to. Go subs are a different matter, all right, and I'm a fan of go subs when you're tight on time, because they're a lot quicker than a statement or a function. So statements and functions are complete kind of standalone bits of isolated code. You'll know them from C and stuff like that. Like, so that's it. But I'll deal with them another time. But they have a little bit of overhead because the CPU has to do a few things to get to that point. But yeah, whereas a go sub doesn't. A go sub jumps to a certain section code, but then jumps back to where it was. So it's like a little island of code, but it's not completely isolated from the main code. But okay, let's just do a go sub. Ugh. But for those who don't know, go to is a direct jump. So yeah, like I use statements where it's not time critical all the time, or well, a lot of the time. But I use go subs a lot in a kind of the main game loop, because it is significantly quicker. It's like one stack push and off it goes, or something. It's very quick. Whereas you have to clear the whole clear all your registers and reload registers and stuff like that when you're in a statement or function. Initializing new variables, all that stuff takes time. So there are it depends on how much CPU time you have to spare. But yeah, so okay, so a go-to. Let's just do a go-to. Let's jump over this loop for the sake of it. Now, because you don't have line numbers, to do a go-to, you have to use a program label. And let's see, go-to, and we're going to call this after loop. Now, if you try and compile that, it will say label not found because we don't have an after loop. But yes, exactly. You have to be careful, because if you get to a return without a go sub, that's a kind of a nasty thing for CPU to do as well, because it's trying to return from somewhere where it was never sent. So it depends on the implementation. That might fall through the end of the code and just bottom out, or it might cause you it might cause some sort of exception. So yeah, but yeah, you really want to stop that from happening. But anyway, right, we're just going to do a go to after loop, and we just literally put the word after loop here. But what we're going to do is we're going to put a dot at the start of it. And what that does is, you're after seeing there now, it adds the label to the side. And this little bar here is a little bar of shortcuts. So later on, if you have a long program, not like this, you can click on that or double click that, and it goes to that section of your code, which is quite nice. So even if you don't actually use the label for any jumps, just stick in labels. It doesn't really affect anything, And so I often do that for like main loop and main loop end. If you don't put the dot there, the loop, the go-to will still work, but it doesn't show up in the shortcuts bar. So dot after loop. There you go. And so you saw there that the repeat loop never happened. Literally just got to the bottom. Yeah, so it's just a go-to is a direct jump, so it just skips straight over this loop here to after loop. So if you wanted to, you could implement kind of while kind of behavior by checking flag value here and then jumping a go-to over the loop. But yeah, there's no need when there's a while can do it. Okay, normally, yeah. A big no-no is to jump out of a loop. Okay, like, see, if I put that go-to here, okay, that's a big no-no, because the program's after setting up this loop to go, and then all of a sudden you're abandoning it, so it's got this kind of repeat thing still in its mind, still on the stack, and it's kind of waiting for that to come out. So that's kind of like, that's the kind of thing that causes you a memory leak in your program. Like, it'll work technically, but it's not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. It'll cause you a memory leak. You might get stack issues. If you know, if you run that, if you go back and repeat that loop a few times, it's, yeah, that's bad news. So, you know, so you don't do, if like, you know, if you run out of lives in your main loop, don't do this. I don't know if that's what you're saying, but don't do it, anyone. That's just going to cause you all sorts of grief and heartache. Or that should be it then. But yes, yeah, don't ever do that. Yeah, if you want to try and avoid a thing, I would still, you know, it's probably more likely that there's a while that can be used. So yeah, I would do it that way instead. Now, okay, so that's it. So a go sub is a different thing altogether. And well, not a different thing, but a go sub acts like a bit like a go to, but it comes back, it returns. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Let's see. I don't know what I'm doing here. That is obviously a stupid thing to do, but we're just, this is you know, a little subroutine here, and we put the keyword return at the end of that. So this is a little bit of code. It's still part of, oh, let's say, no, let my number, and we're gonna use our little shortcut, my number times 10. Okay, so let's look at our little program here. So we're gonna say 5. So imprint my number. We're going to get rid of this value here because we don't want that anymore. Okay, so this is going to output the number 5, and then go sub, and then imprint my number again. Okay, so what that should do is that should print out our number 5. It should jump to multiply, where the number gets multiplied by 10 with their little Blitz shortcut. That's the equivalent of that in C. Yeah, so it'll multiply our number by 10, and then it gets to return, and it remembers where it came from, goes back to the next statement after the go sub, and so imprint that. And that is a quick way of modularizing code, because you can call that from anywhere else. Don't call it from inside go multiply, because that's like infinity and black holes and divide by zeros. Don't do that. But like, you know, you can go to multiply, you can jump to it from loads of different parts of your code. So it's nice if you have the same, if you want to do the same bit of code in lots of different places. It's a nice way of modularizing it without losing a lot of CPU time by putting it in a function. It also means you've got access to all the variables. Now, people will say that might not be a good idea, but yes, it would. Blitz will execute that code, and when it gets to return, it won't know what to do because there won't be a return address on the stack. So it could shit itself. We'll try it. Oh, my 4-year-old's kicking off. Oh, this isn't going to be fun. Okay, so let's give this a run first anyway, and let's see if it does what we expected. 5 and 50. That's exactly what we expected. Now, for pig iron, this should give us 500. Well, actually, we won't see the output, but I'm going to see if it causes an error or what Blitz does. It might give us. Oh, I was saying about that earlier. There's the overflow checking. Why didn't that click with me that that's where it was? Overflow checking. Yeah. That'll give you an error when your thing wraps around. It appears to have worked. Oh no, there we go. Return without go sub. there, it's after catching it. So yes, that will be that'll probably be a guru for that program. So that's yeah, not to be done. Yeah. So yes, I should tell a 4-year-old to go to bed. Yes. That's I don't know what the story is. He's done this last couple of nights. It's basically a situation where he has woken up at somewhere around midnight, and then just like he's up until about 2 a.m, which is a pain. Theo, Derek. Okay, thanks for the follow. Don't know if I'm getting that right for you, but thank you very much for the follow. Excellent. Now, yes. So there you go. So that's what a ghost sub does. And they are, like I say, they're pretty useful because let's put the end there back in there. We can, just do it again. So we can call it multiple times from the same place. Oh, I didn't want to save that. No. That one. And that should give us multiply and multiply again. Yeah. Like, no, to be fair, he went to bed at the right time earlier, but he was exhausted, and now he's going to think he's had his sleep. He's had 4 hours, and that's it. So I think yeah, if only then they'd be absolutely ruthless. They just yeah. Oh, there you go. But you can see there as well that the second label has come up there, and you can jump around your code to find your different routines. So in the like I said again, in Ami Blitz, I'm going to save that as let's just throw it in the RAM disk for now. I'll save that there. Close the debugger and go into Ami Blitz 3. Oh, that's nice. And let's find our RAM disk, and we just have a look at that code, and you can just see it's quite a different look to it in here. Which is nice. So yeah, so I think that would probably do the all the basic topics for today. What is has anyone got any questions or anything, discussion, thoughts on this stuff? Other than how much nicer that code looks if it will only stay intact. Let's turn off the debugger and see if it's the debugger that's causing it to fall over. Well, there you go. We're getting the same output there. And oh, yeah, everyone's ready to make a game where you enter your name and it tells you your name. And I actually don't know if there's a line number limit. I know that a single block of code has a limit. I think it's 32 kilobytes, and I've hit that limit. Again with Dodgy Rocks, and I actually had to farm out parts of it because I ended up with just a massive main game loop, and I was trying to avoid jumping out to try and save CPU cycles. So I ended up getting just a simple kind of code block too long or something. It was like 32k of code or something. Yeah. It became unstable with more than 10,000. That's interesting. Now, avert your eyes. I'm going to look at what Dodgy Rocks was. No, where is it? Guess it random from 1 to 10. Oh, I didn't cover the random command. If I do the random command, yes, you could definitely do that. It's just RND brackets. Guess the number. There you go, your first game. I will be disappointed if about 6 people don't enter that. I'm going to enter that. And you'll have to judge it, Nivrig. You'll have to judge it. What was I doing? Oh yeah. Files, projects. Files. God, I've got too much stuff. Too much stuff. Lines. Well, okay. Oh no. How many lines is that? Okay, the main code is only 2,800 lines, but there's a big chunk of it that's in separate files, you see. Yeah, like that's big as well. So no, I haven't actually come up against that limit. 10,000 lines, I have not. I usually break my code up into different files. But yeah, no, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of finished with what I wanted to do for the oh look, there we go, in action. We've got our dynamic lists, we've got our we've got our new types, and we've got copy types, which is a great thing. Yeah, lazy but great. There you go. Hey, welcome along. Yeah. Yeah, so I generally I think that size of a code file is probably too big for me to be happy with. I'm just gonna see if I have anything else that might have been that big. Oh, Amiga jukebox. Well, if you look at the code size, that is 110 kilobytes of text. Oh, look at this now. That's only 4,000 lines. But oh yeah, yeah. No, I don't. I generally tend to include files. I don't mean include using the menu. So there's an include file, and that literally does insert a file that you choose into your source. Yeah, some lines can be quite long. And see, I do code on a 1920 by 1200 resolution, so I kind of forget that that's it. But I think Ami Blitz is limited to 256 characters wide, and Blitz 2 might even be 128 or 160 or something like that. Yeah, I've never come across that limit anyway, is my answer. That's an impressive amount of code in one file, to be fair. Yeah, the main loop of Dodgy Rocks, there was a big chunk of that I had to farm out to another file because the loop was too big, and it just said I can't compile that. But it wasn't unstable, it just literally said that this chunk is too big. So I don't know. Yeah, but what I mean by includes who was a Friar 85 is like this. You see up here, this include command basically joins this at compile time, so that the code that's in that file doesn't have to be on screen at the same time. So that you don't have to have that file open or anything like that. So that's. Oh, this has hook code in it. We'll see a practical use of the goto command down here. Anyways, but yes, so that actually adds the code in just at compile time, so you don't have to have it open, and it kind of keeps code a bit modular, and that's quite nice to do it. It could be. Have you actually? You know what? With such a big program, that's a lot of code. That's taking up a lot of memory. I wonder, have you run a big memory test on it with Amiga Test Kit or something like that? That might be worth doing, because if you've got a glitch in your memory somewhere and you need a certain amount of code loaded to hit that point in your memory, maybe. I don't know. I really need to update this program. Actually, it's an MP3 player program, but this has a goto in it, I'm sure. Oh yeah, yeah. No, it also has that. Yeah, you see, this is what I was talking about earlier. When you do have a bit of a, when you have to do this kind of faff with an operating system hook, you have to have the compiler will exclude the code if you put it outside of your normal executable code. So what you literally have to do is just do a go to and jump over it, and that's it. And it's a bit of a faff. It's a bit ugly, but it's how you do it, and it's the simplest way to do it. Oh no, it's all about. Oh yeah, fair enough. But 500. Wow. That's a lot of fast RAM. But yeah, I wonder about a memory check on that, or if it's trying to load it into chip RAM or something, and you're hitting the end of chip RAM. I don't know. You might find it is something to do with the particular setup, or there's a fault somewhere a few megabytes into your memory that you hit after a certain point. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, like it's like I'm very happy for questions, and if anyone else has questions there, I'm happy to chat away now for another little while. But yeah, this is an MP3 player I wrote a good while ago, but that's it. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not. I haven't used it in that kind of anger, so I couldn't tell you. Let me see. Do I have any other code that would be stupid long? 100. There you go. 157 kilobytes of code is not going to be 110,000 lines. Is it? 4,500 lines. That's the closest I've got. I think that's a fairly big program, and that's pretty much an all-in-one. What was a big something meant there? No, that's smaller. Installer gen is probably the biggest one. Single file of code that I've done. What else did I do that's big? Oh, Ranchero maybe. No, that's actually quite small. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've never hit off that because I've always split things out into includes. But anyways, we see here we've got a nicer interface with these guys. Now I'll show you a couple of features of Ami Blitz 3 that's really nice. Now, just for the Blitz type things, let's see. Installer gen is fragile code and it's probably not going to work. Let me find something that's a bit more friendly. Dun. What was this? Okay, yeah. So this is just a simple. I was working on this as a sort of a physics exercise, really. Let's see, does it work even? Did that do a thing? Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Now, so I've just run that as a calculation. It was a physics exercise. I wanted to do some curved physics with air hockey with curved pucks, so you get the incident angles and all that kind of stuff. But yes, this is a nice thing. This definition browser, and something that Blitz 2 doesn't have. So what you can do is you go to struct. This shows, once you've done a compile, this shows all the structures that are in there. So I can go to a player, I can double click on that, and I can see all the sub things I have there, and I can browse that, and that's quite nice. And I can even add the code, and so you can go straight into it. So I can go to the parent of that and look at RGB component, and anything that's used in the code, I can just browse. And this is a lovely feature, and this is so nice. Blitz font, parent, shape. Oh no, and you can go and look at a shape object, and you can see the internals of that struct as well. So that's nice. But you can also look at your variables. You know, so that's kind of similar because it shows you what you're. Oh no! Wait a second. That hasn't updated. Okay. Yeah, sometimes this is a bit funky, but oh, did you? Hey, Super Dan, welcome along. I am just finishing up. But yeah, welcome along. It is on the video on demand. To be fair, it's covered very basic stuff. You went to bed early and now you've gotten up again. Oh, are you my 4-year-old by any chance? Because my 4-year-old went to bed around about the start of the stream and has just gotten up. But yeah, so I've just gone through a couple of the features here of Amiga Blitz 3. So, but yeah, it's I've for whatever reason, Amiga Blitz 3 crashed on me. So I said, right, this is I'm now finding it that it's unstable after using it perfectly fine for ages. So I haven't. I've been mostly doing it in Blitz 2 here, but we've done you know, some loops, some go subs, some variables, and why you shouldn't use go subs and go tos, or why you should use go subs and go tos, and yeah, so that's kind of it. Some arrays, new types, different types of variables. Okay, so okay, question. If I'm reading my map data from the raw binary you mentioned, which is for reading it in 2D array, or reading it in a 1D array of new types that have XY. To be honest, it's not a big deal either way. You know, a 1D array is probably going to be better. But you're going to be dereferenced, or you're going to be, you know, accessing the subfields anyway, so I don't think it makes a huge difference. And a 2D array, if you've got a 2D map, it probably makes more sense. It makes it a lot easier for troubleshooting it later on. Like, I mean, you can always, if you find yourself short of CPU cycles, you can always rearrange it into a 1D fairly easily and change the code to match that. It shouldn't be that big a deal. But I know that doing a 1D map, the size would be about the same anyway, you see. But doing a 2D versus a 1D is going to be about the same. But when you're trying to find something on a 2D map and you have an array in 1 dimension, you're probably going to be multiplying anyway, so it doesn't really make a difference. You know, I think that's not going to really save you any time. Now, I don't know why this isn't showing. There we go. Sometimes you just have to multi-go with this. But it shows you all the variables you're using in your code. And as well as, you know, you can see that that's an array, and you can go into that and you can see the new type that it is and go and look at the actual struct inside that. This is all quite handy stuff. And you can look at constants. Now, I do have constants in the code. I don't know why it's not picking them up. Yeah, exactly. It makes more sense from you know, for many reasons to use a 2D array if your data is 2D in nature, and like a map obviously is. And if you're going to store each tile as a single element, you're going to have the same number of elements anyway, whether it's a 1D or 2D array. So oh, I got sent a message. Haha. Okay, well, I'm finishing up now anyway. Cool. Okay. Yes. Apparently I was... Oh, yeah. Wife sent me a text as I go to bed. Well, yeah, you can do a 2D array and still have those properties as fields as well. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. Like, so I would do it that way, you know. So, you know, you can have an X and a Y on the 2D array, and hey, welcome back. So yeah, I would do it that way. I would have a 2D array and have properties as a new type of each of those 2Ds, as each of those 2D elements. Right, map 0 map. Yeah. That's yeah, that's a nice way of doing it. Okay, and that's Now, be careful with this. I'll just point that out because you're using, yeah, you're missing the format there. But basically, you're accessing the variables directly, as in you're accessing the memory belonging to the variables and not the variables. So if you make a mistake in that code, you can overwrite other RAM, and just be careful of that. So, but it is the most efficient way of accessing variables, especially strings and things like that. It's a very it's yeah, very low level way of doing it. But yes, that'll work fine. Just, you know, if you make an error with something and you've got more elements than you think you do, you'll just, like, you know, it'll just write all over something else, and you can cause yourself heartache and pain and misery trying to figure out where that bug is coming from. So just be careful with it. But yes, basically using dereferencing variables like that is a powerful thing, and I'm going to cover pointers and stuff like that probably in another stream. Definitely in another stream, not here, not now. that's one for, like, oh fuck. If I ever get to it, maybe I won't. Okay, so yeah, any other questions then before I go? So, but yeah, this is kind of quite a very nice, like, this browser thing here. I use it all the time in Ami Blitz, and it's lovely, and I miss it when I'm in Blitz 2. But whether that's worth, if Ami Blitz is crashing for you all the time, then yeah, don't. Yeah, the chessboard, of course, is the classical one. I did a tic-tac-toe game. It's on AmiNet, by the way. WB tic-tac-toe. And it is it's a 4-dimensional tic-tac-toe game. So I started with a 2-dimensional board, of course, and then I added a 3rd dimension, so they stacked, and then I added a 4th dimension, so the board swaps out every, you know, so there are 4 different boards if it's a 4-dimensional 4x4x4x4. And that's a 4x4x4x4 array of cells internally. It works. There's also a Windows version there if you want to if you want to check it out. But yeah, so well, you know what, I wanted a game of tic-tac-toe that was actually a challenge, you know. You know, and it has, like, it was really what that was an exercise in writing an AI. And I wrote an AI that can beat you when it gets to 4 dimensions, because, you know, 2 dimensions, yeah, grand. But yeah, it works. And yeah. But yeah, thanks for linking there. So this, Niveri's just after posting there the links to the Blitz Basic Game Jam. And yeah, you know, have a go, aim for that. I'm going to do a few more of these streams between now and then. It doesn't start for another few weeks. But yeah, I will be covering a few more things. Hopefully get to a point where I can at least draw graphics on the screen, because this is the this is like boilerplate stuff. This is, you know, absolute foundation stuff. But you can't put graphics on the screen. Well, you can't do much with them without having the stuff behind it. But yeah, so there you go. I will yeah, I will leave it there. So yeah, the chessboard is actually, when you think about it, the logic and stuff like that is a very nice exercise like that. Yes, this will be on my stream channel. I'll probably put it on YouTube as well, just for posterity, because I think stream deletes it after a month or a week or something like that. So there you go. Where's my thingy gone? Oh yeah, there it is. What will I do? Let's go and raid someone, shall we? But yeah, I would normally work with yeah, I would normally work with Amiga 3, and it doesn't generally cause me problems. I don't know why this did, but oh, thanks for the follow, Arabundi. Thank you. Generally, it works fine, but I normally run it on a graphics card screen. Although I run it for my on my 1200 as well on an AGA screen, and I never have any issues. I don't know what the story is, and it's literally the same install copied over. But yeah, thanks for the follow, Friar. Thank you very much. So yeah, I'll have to see what the story is. Okay, so for a slight change of pace, let's see what's happening. Oh, let's see. Okay, who have we got? Um, oh, Hazemaker is playing some Ocean Software stuff because of the yeah, because I think Twitch deletes it after a week or two, so so it'll be gone. So I'll export it to YouTube in a couple of days when I get this sorted. But yeah, good night, guys. What I'm going to do is I am going to raid Hazemaker 64. Just playing some C64 stuff, Ocean Games, because we heard about the one of the founders of Ocean died there the other day. So I think it's quite a common thing on the streams. But yeah, let's give that a go. But listen, thank you very much, guys. Yeah, it's been awesome. And loads of good questions, loads of good feedback and stuff like that. So I am happy out with that, and I will yeah, say good night.
Got the option for sound effects. Holy shit, Daedalus 2097. Thank you for the raid, Daedalus. Welcome. Daedalus and viewers, welcome. Thank you for the raid. Hope you're good. Hope you had a good raid. I hope you had a good stream. And welcome everyone. If you're new to my channel, my name's Hazemaker64. Playing C64 Ocean games tonight. I normally play C64 and sometimes play Amiga. Huge Commodore fanboy here, so welcome on in. And yeah, another shit ton of raids tonight. Thank you everyone. Twisted, welcome. Hello. What was Daedalus playing? What were you playing, Daedalus? Good evening. Um, Zupadan, welcome. Amiga Gamer, hello. I was just saying how much better than the Amiga version of Navy Seals this C64 one is. So, yeah, but some people swear by the Amiga version, but I won't. I won't have any of it. This is one of my favorites. Oh, Blitz Basic tutorials. Oh, you're doing the competition for there's a competition. I think Zupadan is involved in this competition. There's a game jam competition for Blitz Basic games on the Amiga because everyone's just finished making their Scorpion games. So you need all these Scorpion game developers to, they can't be getting, they can't be, they can't be, they can't carry on making Scorpion games. They've got to get their hands dirty in some Blitz Basic. So if you know any basic or you want to learn, get some follow Daedalus and check out his Blitz Basic tutorials. Daedalus, if you keep those VODs online, I'll probably be interested to take a look at those. I always regretted not sort of learning Blitz Basic when I had an Amiga because I thought it was really good. I thought it was really powerful what you could do with Blitz.